Hello and welcome to another live reaction to the Ashes of Creation development update. I'm trying to style my beard after one of the new beard styles for the Junior Dwarves. And we'll see how well it compares when, when we get there. I think I still have a little growing to do. But anyways, I've seen the last half of this. I did not see like the first half an hour or most of the video that they show, so there will be a lot of pure reaction involved. But like I said, I've kind of seen the second half, so that will be a pure reaction. Going to, again, as normal, try not to pause it too often, but they expect this to be a couple-hour video, and if you are watching this on YouTube or anywhere else, please like, subscribe, leave a comment. Do you agree, disagree with any of my thoughts or opinions? They're always welcome, and feel free to chime in if you're part of my community to jump in. It doesn't just have to be my voice. There's room for a conversation here as well, just to try and create that kind of content that makes it a little more fun and stuff like that. So anyways, let's get into this. This is for June 25th, and let's roll. And then we'll try to respond to your comments in chat as well. So here we go. I guess I should say, for disclosure, I am in the alpha as well, and so I have been playing in the alpha, so my perspectives will be based on what I have already experienced in the game, not just as somebody who's just watching these things and reacting that way. And Jibble says he always tells us he won't pause it much. We all know better, and of course, I mean, yeah, we're like seconds in and I've paused it already.
Hello, everyone.
We have
and
Bacon and his pussy.
Welcome to our glorious Ashes.
Is that pussy bacon?
Development update. We hope that you all have
Sounds
been
tasty.
A wonderful month. I know on our end we definitely have. It's been a very
Off to such a great start.
I am Margaret Crone, your community marketing lead, and I'll be kind of guiding you on this tour today. And
I like
me,
Bacon.
As always, is
he's a good guy.
Stephen Sharif. How you doing, Stephen?
I would definitely interview him if I could. Out of the three, I would interview him first.
We have our special guests. We're going to try to rotate out our guests each.
There's a cute little kitty.
We have Michael Bacon, the one, the only. Everybody loves Bacon. I gotta do like an air horn.
Wonder how many candies he'll eat, because Bacon eats a lot of. Well, he used to eat a lot of candies in the previous streams. If you watched any of those.
She's part of our optimization team.
And she's like 14 years old, right? She's
Yeah,
wow.
She's an old lady girl. Yeah.
It's an old cat.
So precious.
When I met my wife, we went out and got a cat together like the first week. So just jumped the gun and premonition, all that stuff. That's how we knew she was the one. That's how we knew she was the one.
And now you have like 3 or 4 cats, right?
Yeah, 4 at the moment.
Okay.
7 makes you an official crazy cat person.
Awesome cats lounging on the Marshall
Need 7.
stacks, like.
And then Margaret in her, arboretum.
Which you're going to see some more edgelords later today.
She's got lots of plants.
Kind of a run through of what you'll be seeing today. We are going to go through our reminders. We have a studio update from Stephen. We have a design/engineering goodies coming up. And we'll
See, at least this part of the video I don't need to pause because they're just introducing everything. So, good chance for me to plug. This is my Beck Altar merch. It's actually my custom skin. It's so it looks like me. I don't stand up a bit, right? So it kind of looks like me. It's bald, big beard, but the clothing is actually based on Dunir armors. So my clothing is based on that. So that is my Minecraft skin. Hello there, Mr. Upfront Poop Dog. So, and it looks like I'm kind of waving or reaching out, one of the two. But yeah, Beck Altar. I play a lot of RL Craft. I'm going to actually take the RL Craft part off because I need to start playing other. Okay, so let's look at the cosmetic art. So you got some sort of a crystal deer. And you have crystal deer pulling a carriage. It actually looks really nice. This building looks cool. It's kind of a, it looks like kind of a Dunier-esque art construction style. It's almost like maybe the Dunier were tasked with engineering this building, but it doesn't look exclusively Dunier. It definitely looks like it's got some other influences in its design. Got a full tower shield here. It's got a face on it. It almost has like the shape, like a body shape, right? Like you could say like these would be like the shoulders up here. Yeah, this is the monthly art. Yeah, this is this will probably be for next month. And yeah, nice tower shield. Nice, it's got a face here, so it's got kind of a shape to it. I will say it's like a female shape almost, right? You know, little hips. I'm sure that's probably part of it. If you could see the design more, and then we got some sort of bird. I don't know what's on its beak. It looks like an axe. I have a feeling that's like an art. I don't think that's supposed to be there. Yeah, I don't really think that's supposed to be there. I'm expecting Meadowhawk's going to want me to pick her up here soon, which I hope not. Yeah, it's an axe head. But why is it on the face of this thing? Like that it doesn't make any sense. That makes no sense at all. I do not understand that. If there's a pole or something, like it looked like it was being strapped to the mount, then that would make sense. But yeah, anyway, and then you have the armor here. You got a big ass battle axe, and then a spear. Oh, that's a really big battle axe. A beak weapon, yeah. I don't like it. That makes no sense at all. So this would be your pet, this little deer thingy. Eh.
Of course, within this article,
It's
we
meh.
have an FAQ that tells you a little bit about the Alpha 1 pre-order package. And if you still have any further questions, definitely reach out to us through our support Twitter or put in a CS ticket, and we would love to assist you.
This definitely looks better than some of the monthly, in my opinion. Some of them just look a little weird.
Downtime throughout the month in order to resolve some issues. One of the main ones that we resolved was causing some legacy users to have login issues, so we've resolved that now.
Oh, thank you very much for the follow, Emwin.
That we noted or that people reported to us. So thank you so much. That the last update that we had, the big one, had a lot of account-related things oriented to it. So we definitely wanted to give it a little time before we implement anything new. But we do have our next update. We'll be adding in another payment option.
Oh.
You guys have highly requested a PayPal option. So
Well, I'm glad I got it right the first time.
And keep giving us your feedback on all of the things, and we'll continue to update stuff.
I know I read a lot of license plates. Maybe that's why I'm good at that.
Coming down the line, and we'll keep you guys updated.
Yeah, it's a nice sounding name.
Further on the updates front, we have our dev discussions.
I've actually been thinking about doing reaction videos to the dev discussions, kind of going through each of the posts and kind of giving my own thoughts and opinions based on some of the comments and stuff like that. If that's something you'd like to see, let me know.
Does realism matter to you generally? And I know that this is going to help Bacon's team greatly. They're very excited to hear
Oh, thank you, Jibble, for being a good community member and welcoming. Usually Pug's the ambassador. You're gonna get yourself a mod status. You keep doing stuff like that.
We have another dev discussion, which is actually about guilds, which will be interesting because we do also have our guild gathering, which is a little bit different. And last month's was, or I guess this month's was, share your fondest guild memory from your history of gaming. Bonus points for sharing pictures and or videos. And oh my gosh, you all have shared so many beautiful memories with us. I believe Toast might have already made a report for this one and shared it with the team. We really
still waiting for the check in the mail. Pug's the only one that I've paid. Well, she was helping with social media and stuff, and so I was sending her a little money in appreciation. I got one hair right here. It's cold. Oh.
And of course, our next one is
loosen it up in here a bit.
Internal conflict. So
but yeah, my social media presence is pretty lame. I need to work on that. Nobody really cares.
Beyond that,
Okay, so now we're looking at
Now we're
NDA stuff. Okay, so Ashes of Creation Alpha 1 playtest schedule, intermittent Alpha 1 testing, May 14th through July 9th. This is what we're doing right now. And then NDA looks like it's going to get lifted July 9th. Well, she also wins a lot of the giveaways, the Amazon gift card giveaways. Because normally she's here more than just about anybody else, so she has the chance. Which they are all triggered now through the community challenge of Twitch. So you got to use your sapphires. It's the little blue point gems. You have to use your sapphires to get it up to 100,000, and then that'll trigger a giveaway of either $5 or 20% of all donations and bits received between the last draw and the current draw. However, if you have 30 days, so so it's still monthly, but you can have it triggered before the month ends. However, if it expires, then it goes to 200,000 for the next one, and then it'll alternate from 100 to 200 to 100 to 200. Because I need some of the regulars to burn off their sapphires. Because some of you guys, like I have one user that has almost 200,000 all by themselves. So, anyways, so July 9th through July 11th is an Alpha 1 preview, no NDA, and Alpha 1 July 14th through August 13th. And that's not even talking emeralds. I mean, you guys have emeralds that are accrued in, I think, how many do you have up front? You probably have 500,000, pretty close. So, yeah, need to burn off some of those emeralds as well. And thank you very much, Jibble. Gifted a sub to Emwin. Thanks. That's awesome. Always appreciate that. And shows how long. Yes, you've been around for a long time up front. Oh well, I mean you're a year now. So, so I've made this comment many times when I've been streaming. I don't know why the NDA currently exists right now. I know they wanted to try and update the combat and some other things. So there's obviously an image that they want to have for the game that they haven't gotten to yet. They've been fighting with this AI bug that they have now for a month. I think that's really delayed them. They've also moved into the new studio. That's going to delay a few things. And like I said, I would not be surprised if they decide before the 9th to move everything back, all right? To say, hey, we're not going to lift the NDA for July 9th. And I would not be surprised if they move the Alpha 1 July 14th through August 13th testing into September, October, right? So change it to September 14th, October 13th. I would not be surprised if they do that. And I would be okay with that if they did that, because with the AI bug that they're trying to squash, I don't think they've been able to work on other features that they were hoping to be released for the NDA. Up front, you've been showed up quite a bit. So I mean, who's got the 21 gifted subs or something, or not 21, but 15? I think it was Weishford did 15 gifted subs one time, so I have 21 subs in total. But yeah, Weishford did 15 subs. Yeah, it's crazy. It was crazy. Half the bots are subbed now. But anyways, yeah, so I wouldn't be surprised if they did that, and I would be okay with it. I mean, the game is pretty good, but there are some nagging little bugs and stuff that really should not be there for an alpha. For an alpha build, these are definitely pre-alpha bugs that should be squashed and whatnot. Now, I'm okay with these bugs being there. I mean, it's an alpha. They're going to be there. They will get squashed eventually. It takes time. I know they have the what was it? I'm gonna say now. Oh, forget it. Yeah, they're working on a lot of different things, and definitely the AI bug they need to take care of first. And I know that's probably delaying some other things, but so really, I don't think they're going to be able. I don't think they're going to change enough between now and July 9th to make any difference between having an NDA now and July 9th. I know it's more of a this is more of a hype thing. This is more of a marketing thing. But I don't think Ashes is really going to benefit from a hype train right now, because again, there's a lot of these little bugs, and as somebody myself who's done a lot of alphas and beta testing in 20 years, I understand the process. But there's a lot of people out there who do not know what an alpha is, and they um, might see the bugs and stuff as a negative and not appreciate what's actually been accomplished. And I think Steven's aware of that, and I think that's why they've pushed the NDA back once already, and why I'm sure it's on their mind to push it back again. And I would encourage them to do so. If Steven was watching this, I would say, you know what? I think you should. I think you should push this into the fall. Your July to August testing. It's summer vacation. COVID is being lifted. Everybody's going to be outside. Everybody's going to go on vacation. So I think you're not going to get a lot of benefit from a July, August testing anyways. I think you need, maybe go to the fall, and in the fall, you'll have more people around because they're back to work, back to school, holidays are over. We would have gotten our COVID cabin fever out of our system by then, hopefully. And we'll have the fourth wave, right? So we're all going to be back in lockdown anyways, so we'll have nothing but time to come back. Because I'm not convinced that we're done with COVID yet.
Reminder, of course, that we have upcoming Alpha 1 preview spot tests that have been going on every month or every week, in some cases multiple times a week.
Should be a spot test this afternoon, actually.
Today, actually, at 2:30 p.m. to 8:30 p.m. Pacific.
It is the new flu, absolutely. At this point, yeah.
At 11 a.m.
And for top donation up front, I think you are still by a little bit.
On the forums and discussion channels for those.
Just changed top donation this week to top donation of all time.
Twitter.com AOC supports channel because that has a pinned post with all the information.
Recent cheer, Washford with 50.
Is still in effect, but the verbal NDA has been lifted, so you can talk about everything with your heart's content, but no streaming and no sharing.
Well, I do have 4 days left on my donation goal.
At least, we do have our content creator program, which is now taking applications. But I do have some notes in regards to that. Remember, as noted from our previous live stream, we have so much interest from you guys that
you guys beat the boss fight, nice.
On a new staff member, we are looking for an influencer relations specialist to help us out, and that's over on our career page. If you want to go check that out, intrepidstudios.com/careers. And if you know somebody that would be great for the position, feel free to share that application with them and have them apply, as we'd love to see from them. I've already started doing some interviews, so, it's been exciting. And, of course, we'll be opening up a secondary program. We talked a little bit about this last month, and we are calling that the Content Creator Training Academy, where we'll help content creators level up their skills to be able to graduate to our official content creator program, because we truly
top
feel
donation,
so much passion for Ashes of Creation.
30
and we really
days.
want to give back and help you guys grow. Because
so my Twitch payout's the highest donator.
And of course, do note that some people might not.
I added the
programs.
When I get my Twitch payouts for my subs, I'm applying that. So I think $150 is based on my Twitch payouts.
For my studio updates, so I would love to toss it over to you, Stephen, to talk a
little bit. I missed the content creator.
I'd love to toss it over to you to talk. But I do
back.
have some notes in regard to forums and discussion channels. For those.
Yeah, they did. Yeah, they had a previous. Yeah, they had a previous program, and then they canceled it.
Post with all the information on it. And reminder that the visual NDA is still in effect, but the verbal NDA has been lifted, so you can talk about everything with your heart's content, but no streaming and no sharing videos. And of course,
well, I stream. I just don't show the video or play the audio.
We have our content creator program, which is now taking applications.
Yeah, I put in an application.
In regards to that, remember, as noted from our previous live stream, we have so much interest from you guys that we actually have decided to hire on a new staff member. We are looking for an influencer relations specialist to help us out, and that's over on our career page.
Which means I probably won't make it because I'm not a big influencer or whatever.
Feel free to
And the radio has very little traction right now,
love to see from them.
which, you know,
I've
need
already
help
started
on
doing
that,
some
but
interviews, so you know, it's been exciting. And of course, we'll be opening up a secondary program. We talked a little bit about this last month, and we are calling that the Content Creator Training Academy, where we'll help content creators level up their skills to be able to graduate to our official content creator program, because we truly feel that there's so much passion for Ashes of Creation, and we really want to give back and help you guys grow, because you know.
Okay, so like people like Jalon, Big Cheek Giant, Smurg, there's a couple others. They were all part of the original content creator program, and I think they still consider themselves content creators because they'll most likely be grandfathered in. So they still use. I know a couple of them kind of loosely use the term still, calling themselves official content creators, even though technically they're not. But they'll probably be grandfathered in, and I don't see any reason why they shouldn't be. I mean, they've been creating content for Ashes for a very long time before a lot of us new ones have come by and stuff like that. So, but yeah, they're not getting any perks. They're not getting any bonuses. They're not getting anything that anybody else isn't getting, right? Which for the most, I mean, Jalon does get interviews with Steven where other content creators don't seem to be. So there's that. But he is probably the biggest content creator that is exclusively for Ashes. There are other bigger content creators like the Lazy Peon, for example, but they create content based on other games and stuff like that as well. So when it comes to exclusive content, and nothing to take away from what he produces. It's it's informative and stuff like that. Yeah.
We're excited too. And of course, do note that some people might not make it into either of these programs. And if you don't, we'll always let you know why.
I probably won't, but at the same time, I mean, online radio is tough, right? Like it's a very unique medium.
I think that's it for my studio updates. So I would love to toss it over to you, Stephen, to talk a little bit about, or my reminders.
Because my content that I'm creating, it's different.
Yes.
Dyslexia there.
So, first of all, I want to apologize for us being an hour, pushing the stream back an hour today. We had some technical difficulties as we were trying to get some recordings. Today is actually a big day from a Alpha 1 preview testing standpoint because a lot of hard work has been put into revamping the back end of the combat system.
I don't know. Maybe.
Spearheaded by Adam Pipich and helped by with
the reason being, okay, a little promo for Phoenix Radio. It is, out of all of the content that people are creating, it is the most unique. Because other people are creating content based on gameplay, based on game systems, based on game, all the different facets that make up the game, right? The development and stuff like that. What I'm creating is entirely, more or less, not entirely, but it's going to be mainly fan-driven content, right? I'm not only creating my own content through fake commercials, through radio dramas, which I need people to voice. So if you feel you'd like to voice a character, let me know. But I'm also, unlike other creators, I shouldn't even say unlike other creators, because other creators do collaborate with other creators and other people in the community. They do podcasts, they do interviews and stuff like that. What I'm doing is I can do that with the radio, clearly. But other people are already doing that, right? Why reinvent the wheel? And there's other people that do it very well. So what I'm doing is not only creating my own content through the commercials or the songs that I'm trying to write and whatnot, but I'm also creating another avenue, another platform, I guess, where people that create content that maybe doesn't do well over YouTube. Like if you write a song, it doesn't really go well over YouTube unless you produce a video to go along with the song. Whereas, well, you can play the song on here. Or maybe you just want to tell some jokes. You want to be a stand-up comedian. Well, again, visually, not a whole lot there. You're standing in front of a microphone telling some jokes. Now, if you're a character, then you want to have your in-game character. And now you're getting into machinima. And again, it's a whole lot of work for just telling some jokes or a short story. Whereas I'm creating a medium that people can submit that content and then I'll broadcast it. And then as people play the game, or if you're just doing your day-to-day stuff, you can turn on the radio. You can listen to it on your phone while you're driving, and you don't have to be distracted by a video. So eventually, the idea is it's going to be entertaining. It's going to be good music. A lot of it's going to be independent. Hopefully, the majority of it, I'm going to try and go for 60 to 70% being independent artists or things that aren't going to trigger a DMCA on Twitch and stuff. I also want, hopefully, the community to create their own music and stuff like that will get played on the radio as another medium, and then people can find their music on the website, go to their Bandcamp, or if they have it up on YouTube or wherever they want to provide it for download, then people can go download it or show them support in whatever way that they want. So I am not creating content exclusively for the radio. It is going to be a little bit of a community effort. And in that way, I am not the community creator, but it's community creators coming together. So if somebody is doing an interview, then I could rebroadcast that interview over the radio kind of thing, right? So the whole idea is it's meant to be somewhat collaborative. My role is to keep things going, keep the lights on, keep it organized, make it make sense, put my college degree to use, and stuff like that, right? So I don't know if I'll make it into the content creators program because I'm not creating exclusive content via the radio. I don't know how much traction the radio is going to get versus a YouTube channel and stuff like that. Now, some of the content I make, I'm going to try and figure out how to get it on YouTube in an entertaining way, but we'll see, right? I don't have a social media presence, so I'm not really hitting a lot of people. The radio's in a test mode right now because I'm still building up the inventory and content, which you guys can help with. Absolutely. So anyways, that's why I'm not too sure. I'm not too sure if I will make it into the content creators program. But I hope so, because it is so unique. And if I can pick Margaret or Steven's ear, I think I even have a nice workaround within their own lore as to why the radio can exist in the game and stuff like that. But I think the radio needs to start making an impact, right? And I'm not on the forums. I find their forums to be quite toxic, in my opinion. Anytime I post about the radio, whatever, it's just I get nothing but toxicity back for the most part. Not nothing, but for the most part. So I just don't feel like the forums gives me a good opportunity. So I kind of want like a forum ambassador to kind of help me out there. Maybe I just don't communicate effectively. We'll have to see. And up front, thank you for the donation of $20. So that means the giveaway will now be 20% of that. So that's $2. So not quite, doesn't quite beat the $5 in total, but that's $2 towards that as we get more. So that'll be great. Anyways, let's continue.
And Hunter and Trad, a lot of people, Brian Ferguson, a lot of people helping get that back end revamp in place, which will then allow us to start doing some significant changes on the front end of basically what players will see on the front end side of combat. Some of those changes already have been in, but we're going to be testing a lot of that today. And
yeah, they've actually done a lot of differences in the combat. I remember when it first started, your regular attack was just big purple thing. Right, it looked like someone took a paintbrush with purple sparks every time you'd swing.
So very excited about that.
Now it's a lot smaller and it's more orange.
trying to record today's video. But
So it
that's
looks
okay.
really good.
It's gonna be a really
It's much
good
better
video
than it
to
was.
test it. Studio update-wise, though, things are going well. We have about 30-ish of our team back in the studio, in our new studio. Unfortunately, the furniture did get delayed by a couple of weeks, so we're right now in like a temporary setup. I shared a
Everybody's on
with
milk
our
crates
TI,
and
with our
apple
Phoenix
boxes.
associates. We're kind of crammed into one section with some temporary furniture and whatnot over the next few weeks because we wanted to be there, obviously for Alpha 1 testing, kind of keeping design, engineering, and QA all in one place together so we can collaborate as, we come across issues.
They're slumming it.
That's a big step in the right direction. When the furniture does come in,
No, that
we're
room
scheduled
Steven's in
for,
is like as
first
big
week of
as
July,
like
to
my
bring
main
our
floor,
entire team back into the studio. So that's going to be
if
very
not even
exciting.
bigger.
It's a great looking new studio. I know Margaret's chomping at the bits to get a cool video up and running to show
know.
you guys, get a tour.
We were talking about doing some time lapse because we still have some like paintings and things that are going to be doing on the office, like the murals and stuff.
Oh yeah.
So it would be cool to see if they're down with being recorded. It'd be cool to be able to record a time lapse of those.
Why are you spending money on
And
murals?
of course, just kind of show you guys what's going on. I think it'll also
Yeah, he
help our
is.
social. I know Peter, who
Drinking
is
his water
our
out of a
social
wine
media manager,
glass.
is going to be very excited to kind of be able to take some photos and
Yeah, why are you
know,
spending money on a
share
mural?
some
I mean,
stories
murals are
on
thousands of
Instagram
dollars.
like
Put it
developers
into the
actually,
game.
like, you can see them doing
It's
their work.
frivolous spending.
Obviously, we show you every month what we're
But
doing.
it's his
but
money,
behind the
right?
scenes action,
He can do what he wants with it.
would be always fun. And we're going to be bringing on a new video person soon. So we definitely have lots of plans to bring like dev discussions back, or not dev discussions, dev diaries. I'm thinking about dev discussions. Toast, look what you've done to me. I know people loved seeing the dev diaries. We want to definitely do more of those and kind of showcasing the process of development. Obviously, we've been trying to be as transparent as we can. For those of you who are part of our alpha spot tests, you get to see, the nitty gritty of every week's test. And then, of course, beyond
I go
that,
on tangents all the time.
bigger tests that we're going to be doing with more people.
Yes.
Yeah,
I
I do a lot of
people
tangents.
Said, Soft Peter is the social media.
No, I don't
This is
have my
actually a
chat
different
box
Peter.
up on here,
This
do
is
I?
Peter Basulka.
School. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah. So
I need a new
very
chat
exciting.
box.
So on the other side of that,
Something that
obviously,
doesn't have the
as we get back
art.
into the studio, we've mentioned this obviously in the past. We are still continuing to hire. We have a lot of positions that are open, multiple of individual positions. So the community team does a great job sharing that across all of our social media. If you guys do see that, feel free to give us a retweet. Feel free to tag your favorite developers and let them know that we're hiring. We are growing the team very large for this huge project
Has
that
it
we are
been
creating.
interesting for you seeing the office from what it was before and now the new office and how many people and all the new faces?
The old sweatshop that we were in?
It was starting to get like sardine, that's for sure.
It was getting very sardine. Used to be. Now we have a lot of space. I mean, there is a lot of space in this office. We're over 25,000 square feet of studio space, so it can hold, I believe, up to 300 developers. We have a lot of fun plans in that studio, so very excited for that. Yes, one thing I do miss about the old office is we had a couple of garage doors, and when it got a little warm, during the summer, you could just open up the garage doors and just let the wind flow through the studio. We also had fans that were, no joke, the fans were created by a company called Big Ass
So
Fans.
no testing tonight.
That was the name of the company, and we would let those fans go like crazy. Now we don't have the fans; it's much more officey, but it's still.
I think
fun.
it'll feel more homey once we get all the actual furniture in and the decor, and now it definitely feels like a corporate office.
That's going to happen. That's
yes.
all part of testing, man.
But we're gonna make it fun and also have like some arcade games.
Yeah,
and
I do.
gaming
Jibble
rooms for
does.
folks for their breaks and stuff like that. So
Thanks to
yeah.
Upfront.
lots of fun space, and once it's all done too, we'll kind of give you guys a tour.
Yeah, Upfront Poop Dog was
I'm excited.
a
to
huge, huge
We also have
assistance
some backers from the old
with
Kickstarter
that.
days who actually are entitled to an in-person studio tour.
Yeah, so we'll be
So
inviting you.
Yeah, that'll be fun.
I'm super excited for that. I love hosting events and like creating events, so that's going to be really, really fun for me.
Yes.
Credit where
seasons are
credit's
starting
due,
up Now that COVID's kind of like people are wrapping up everything.
I notice
so.
Horrendous in chat says you'll need to find a new ice cream truck. For
Oh
those
my
of
gosh,
you guys
that
who
ice cream
don't
truck?
know, those of you guys who don't know, at the old studio, we used to have an ice cream truck that would come by. And one time I went out there and I bought like all of his stuff in the ice cream truck and distributed it through the studio. So ever since that day, he would every day just prowl around outside the studio with his. Remember
He's
that?
like, there's a chance.
Yeah, I remember that.
He'll buy everything again.
There were days where I
Yeah.
didn't come out to buy his truck basically, and he would just sit in front, like staring through the window, like a lost puppy dog. He's like, "Please buy my ice cream truck." I was like, "No, go away, shoot." It was funny though. It was good times. But anyway, so that's the studio update. Things are looking good. We're excited to be back in office, and we are hiring.
Yes, and
Yay.
we might start doing, live streams a little differently again. Either probably not next month. Next month's going to be probably more playing the game, but because we'll be in alpha. But the next month after that, we'll probably all be in person together. So we'll have a different vibe than this.
Oh,
in the
absolutely.
future.
Yeah,
So
selling
stay
your
tuned
whole
for that.
your-
And
your
of course, we'll move on to
whole truck. That'd be
our
awesome.
friend stuff. Do you want to play the video first?
Yeah, let's play the video first.
I mean, there's some
just
good
wanted to
money
play
there.
this video, obviously. So this video is only about 8.5 minutes long. Last time we had a very long video, and we didn't quite get to a lot of Q&A. And I know.
I mean,
that's,
selling your
really
whole
some
truck
of our
probably was
followers
a
and
week's
the
worth of
Ashes
wages.
community love getting those questions into the thread. Sarah's compiled those, obviously. And we're
Well,
gonna
if the
spend
guy
a
was
extra time
smart,
on today's stream, getting some additional questions.
You know,
and
if that
answers
guy
in.
was smart,
So
he'd
hopefully you guys
figure
enjoy
out
that.
where their new
This
office
video,
is, and then he'd go
just
prowl
a
around
short,
there.
Overview. We're just basically looking at one of the.
You know, he should
cool
be
areas of
following
the
them on
environment to kinda
social
show
media.
you the differences between these areas that exist in the world. It kind of sets entirely different moods. We do that through like volumetric fogs and lighting, and the cool looking Bacon's going to have an awesome time talking about this after the video. But we show off some of the additional costumes. We show
Well,
off
that's a
some
very
of the battle.
cuddly
We show
cat
off one of the
Bacon
big
has.
monster dudes. I talk a little bit about the passives. We've added passives in on the combat side. Show a little bit of the action reticle mode. But basically, it's just an 8 to 9 minute long.
I have very
video.
cuddly cats too.
Like I
The
said,
problem
I'm
is
thinking
they
maybe
shed
this
like
weekend I'll try to record another
crazy.
video. Maybe don't hold me to it.
You should
But
see
if
the
I
hair,
do,
the cat
record
hair.
another
I
video, we'll
sweep
throw
out
that
of
up
here
on
like
YouTube.
every couple of
So
days.
this is
Next
just
week.
You can make a
Next week,
kitten.
yeah.
Protest, yeah.
Yeah,
Alright,
exactly. All right, so we'll see you guys in there.
We'll see you on the flip side.
So we're on the video.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another live stream day with Ashes of Creation. I am joined.
And the game
today
does
by
look
our
this good.
Amazing senior community manager, Lieutenant Toast, the tiniest of toasts. Hey, Toast.
Greetings. I am very, very tiny today.
Yeah, I see you
Very
got your.
corny.
You're being responsible with your mask, your little COVID castigator, or
I think you
Corvid.
mean Corvid.
My apologies.
castigator. But yeah, I'm
It's-
wearing my mask to be extra safe.
It seemed
Early
appropriate.
day and sold out. Yeah,
We
exactly.
also have the edgiest of edgelords, lead community.
Yeah, so
marketing,
Steven
Miss
plays
Margaret
on
How
a
you doing, Luperza?
1080 Ti, which I'm surprised. I'm really surprised he doesn't have like the latest greatest video card. But
I
it just
like
goes
the,
to
I
show
like the
how
energy
well
eyes. It's a good touch.
I know.
this goes.
it's so
And
cool.
like
I love
I was playing on
The man, the myth, the legend himself, the bacon of
6700K
baconists, Mr. Michael
processor
Bacon.
I
Baked bananas.
Baked
with
bananas.
GTX 980, and it looked
What's the
this
baked
good.
bananas in
Now I'm on the
reference
new
to?
system
Oh,
with my 5900X
I like baked
AMD,
bananas too.
same video card,
Some good
Mhm.
bananas.
and the game still looks this good.
So,
What about
And when
you?
I It looks so promising. I feel like I've been waiting for an MMO for so long. Seems to a lot of elements, others I have enjoyed.
I
That was
think.
the most unsure that sounds.
Absolutely.
I can't think of anything
Yeah,
bacon that
absolutely.
isn't good, so I guess I just have
I mean,
to
and I'm
say
not a
it's
big
good.
PvP guy. I am more of a Care Bear than not.
What? That's
But,
literally
even
a
I'm
food group.
Excited for this game, despite all the PvP stuff.
Sugary, like sugary bacon.
You heard it right
Maple
here.
You know, graphically, it looks
Yeah, we don't like
phenomenal.
bacon. How can you not like bacon?
You know, it definitely sounds like it's going to be very story driven in a lot of aspects, which I like. I think a lot of MMOs kind of forget about the story and lore.
I like Michael Bacon.
Oh, very good.
Ah, there you go. I'll
Well,
take it.
we
I like
wanted to
bacon. Let's be real. I just don't want it with sweet stuff.
we wanted to jump in today.
Ganking
give you guys
me,
just
yeah.
a
I
quick
think there's
run
gonna be a
around
lot of
some
people
these
ganking.
areas that the
Yeah,
amazing
I wouldn't
environment
be
team has put up
surprised.
here. One of these. Where are we at right now, Michael?
We are in Elwyn Ruins.
Ooh. It's very dark,
Curious how the
mysterious,
combat
and
feels. I'm not
atmospheric.
good at FPS
Yeah.
style games. I see it has some sort of
Usually
hybrid
is
system.
made
Yeah, it
for
is a hybrid between action
Wow.
combat and
Ooh.
tab
Loving it,
targeting.
loving it.
Um,
So I guess, guys, we wanted to just kind of show you around a little bit. Obviously, we want
and
to
their
give you some
combat
videos
still
of
needs
Alpha 1
refinement.
as
That's
the
part
preview
of
for
why
Alpha
the
1
NDA
has
hasn't
been
been
kind of
released,
testing and how these areas are
apparently.
coming to life. This place is looking very good. I
But
love
yeah,
the,
I kind of have some
fog,
worries
the
myself
electric
between
fog here.
because action combat you're going to get locked into animations. Tab combat, I mean your animations are kind of built on a
When you're
world cooldown,
deciding what lighting should be in an environment,
and
how do you go about like deciding on the environment?
like tab targeting is definitely easier than action combat. So I think the risk reward of action combat is you'll probably do a little more damage potentially.
All these POIs kind of sit in the tropics
But
there with the
using your spells, I think, is harder with action combat because you're constantly needing to move around, right? Like the whole concept of action. I don't want to interrupt Bacon here too much, but the whole concept of action combat, of course, is you're constantly moving around. Well, then that means you're constantly WASDing with the mouse, focusing on your target. So how do you hit your spells, right? So hitting those spells, your action bar becomes a lot harder to do, I think, in my opinion. And yeah, it's meant to be a hybrid system. So it's meant to be, you kind of go back and forth depending on what you're doing, who you're fighting, stuff like that. I think it's really going to be class-based for the most part. Obviously, I think your warrior, your tanks, your melee combat people are probably going to be more action combat, where your more DPS range people are probably going to be more tab targeting. Jibble says 80 to 20%, or was it 730, as in you can pick more action or more tab? I think it's 70-30, I think is kind of what they're looking for. But yeah, and of course, having played pure action combat games, one of the issues is you get locked into an animation. Some of their animations are pretty long. It's as far as spell casting and stuff like that. So, the worry with that is do you get locked into that animation, and that is what basically gets you done in. But yeah, well, we'll have to see, right? At the end of the day, we'll have to see. But they're talking about environment lighting.
When we get to design, and it requires something dark and moody. Scope the lighting to that. But in this particular case, it was kind of weird because all these POIs kind of sit in the tropics area, which is a very bright.
Yeah, exactly. Yes.
Kind of place.
Yeah, you'll have like 20 or 30 to pick from, but you can only have 10 on your action bar, or 9. So I noticed he has no Q on here.
Do that with the atmosphere and
he has no Q ability.
Yeah, it looks great. I think it looks very.
Yeah, I like the detail and the destruction, which is cool, and just what is this? Oh, sorry, they're not seeing it. I'm the only one seeing it.
Oh yeah, I'm
just over here.
Where is it?
Where am I going? Oh, it's that.
Jermaine, you had to stay away from him.
Is it the big one?
I got my booty on
it's the big one. It's the big one.
Ooh, I'm running over to take a look at him.
Steven's not even with the team.
I think I know who you're talking about. I'm gonna enable my avoid aggro. See if we can get a good look at him. Oh yeah. Yeah, I'm just gonna pause.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Just so we can look around this area, I'm gonna pause the server aggro. It looks pretty. He looks pretty daunting.
Yeah, exactly.
It's very cool.
Yeah, when we get to test out having subclass, we'll know more.
Animated armor.
Yeah, that's pretty cool
You
looking.
can kind of see how we utilize some of the different armor pieces. You've probably seen some of these pieces on different outfits, like Toast Corvid Castigator cloak is on him.
And that helmet is a darker version of one that we've seen before as well.
There's Stevens.
Yeah, you know what I love
So is the
about
breastplate.
the costume that I'm wearing right now is I mixed and matched it a little bit with this belt.
So this is where I came into their stream.
I had a little
We
cute.
all are cheating. We all put together weird outfits.
I don't know what you're talking about. I'm normal.
This belt has like my material components for spell casting, so I definitely feel like I'm a witch right now.
Good.
Looks
I
like
got the
one.
witchy vibes. It's perfect for the
Oh, yeah.
spooky zone.
I'm just going to run around a little bit. Another thing that we did recently that's actually going to be starting to test today is we adjusted a lot of the back-end combat stuff. So
Yeah, apparently they have some bugs with that. That's why
testing.
testing's been canceled today.
I have my reticle, and when my reticle
Which is
hovers
okay,
over an
that
enemy
happens.
target, it'll turn red, essentially showing like, hey, you have a valid target hit that you can see. And when you press Q, you can lock onto that target. You can also
They
hold
must be on a
tab
different.
to alternate between targets.
Well, I guess so.
So like that's an important.
Yeah, they must be on a
aspect
different
of
server
the
because I
concept we're
think
trying to incorporate, which is like mixing and meshing
like Phoenix
between tab
Initiative
action.
and those
So
guys,
you
I
still
think
have that
they
action
are
component,
able
but
to
also are available
access
use some of your tab targeted skills.
a
And you'll
persistent
see another
server.
thing
I'm
we
not
added,
100%
you'll
sure on that.
enjoy, is we incorporated some of
But I know
these
they do get
passive
more
skills.
testing.
So you can see all these passive abilities: mana regen,
Oh,
attack
nice.
damage, critical hit damage, health regeneration, defense mitigation, maximum health. A lot of different changes
Nice.
from the passive side of things. And these
Yeah,
are
so
based
far
on
we've
some
only been able to use the
features.
middle one.
So, wow, there's a lot of work obviously coming into the preview for Alpha 1 that amazing testers are helping us to kind of find bugs for and whatnot.
And they got a lot of fog on this server, like this part of it. I know when I've been playing, you could see for miles. It looks so awesome.
I
Like,
love this environment, Bacon. The environment team's done a great job.
so I wonder if they're doing that because that uses a lot of extra resources in rendering. If they're adding this fog of war, it's just the zone. Okay, yes, it's very very hazy. Like I said, I wish I could show you guys the views in the game. Like there's one mountain near the starting zone you can get on top, and you can literally see across the entire alpha map in good detail.
You're wearing, I think, a combination of a couple sets.
Yeah, there's a good amount. Edwin says, have you seen a lot of different zones and biomes in the alpha? There are, yeah.
No, it looks great. I love it.
A lot of it looks kind of what you see here, but there are different tree styles. There's like wintry areas.
The mask especially.
There's some that are like different kinds of trees, like different foresty kind of areas.
Mere shade
And there's more plains type areas.
Guys with the withering
woods one.
So yeah, there's a good mix of
I know
biomes,
we have a lot of art to show off,
and they all look really good.
But we wanted to show you
Yeah,
guys
they all look
one of
really
these cool
nice.
places in the environment in the alpha that you guys are going to have an opportunity to take a look at. These places all grow as well with the nodes as they advance, and you're going to see creepier, crawlier things kind of come out of the world with some bosses that might appear here and there if villages reach a certain size.
That'll be interesting.
With that being said, we'll see you
How
guys
that
back
gets
on stream
incorporated
here in just
into
a
the
second.
game.
Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.
All right. Well, it seems like you guys were enjoying
Looks
it.
like Bacon's a musician as well. Got a couple Marshall amps there, a couple of keyboards.
I just don't like it with sweet stuff, okay? And
What?
I'm not a big fan of fries in your milkshake.
Oh, that's so good. How can you dare say such a thing?
I don't like sweet and savory together. It's just
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we're on an alpha island,
I like
so
the shake,
it
but I
doesn't
like my
blend
fries
to
not mixed.
the way you would expect it
So
to.
we do have a couple
Dip the
questions.
fry in the shake. Sorry, go ahead.
No. We do have a couple questions. So the first one is from, and I apologize if I don't get your names right. You're
Getting the
welcome to
cat's
just
ass
ask
in the
me if I
video.
don't pronounce it properly. Nelu Motra, and they want to know, will you be able to turn off the crosshairs in your settings? And obviously, you can toggle between
Yeah.
action mode or not.
Yeah, so right now, the
Get
way
a couple
that's
more
implemented,
people in the
pressing
boss
Z
fights,
as a
get a
hotkey, and
tougher
obviously,
boss.
Key bindings, you can rebind it how you wish, but pressing Z right now by default will switch you over into the action combat reticle mode, right? Now,
I feel
action
sorry for
combat isn't
Bacon
just based on your
in this
camera
because he
angle
talks
having a reticle, right? So
in
some
total
of our
like 5
abilities and
minutes.
skills and weapons utilize projectiles.
You know, he kind of, I think he
utilize
kind of
skill shots,
feels like
right?
it's the
Those are
third
the
wheel,
aspects
maybe.
of action combat that is available. And if you don't want to play with a reticle, you don't have to. You just
You know,
switch
it's
between
which
the
is a
sound
shame
card
because
maintainer
I really
and the
like, you know,
reticle
when
mode.
Bacon gets to actually talk
There'll also
about
be opportunities in the future for
the
you to
environment and
swap
what
out
his team
what
works
type of
on.
reticle you're using
Um,
if you,
it's
we'll have a
good. Like,
selection of available
I mean,
reticles.
right now the
So,
environment
we have
is the
some
game.
kind of follow-up questions to that, which is
Sure.
You know, Flake, I'm gonna pause again. Um, when you look at the alpha, I think what really makes the alpha not like feel like it's more advanced in development than I think the game really is the environment. Like, when you look at the world, you look at how put together it is, you look at the detail, you look at pretty much everything, right? It looks awesome. I mean, the game looks dang near release ready, environment wise. And I think because, you know, with the whole COVID thing, you know, the art guys can literally roll out of bed into a chair, go to work. And so they can put more time into what they're doing. There's no commuting, stuff like that. And art is one of those things that there isn't that constant oversight and editing that you need in coding and stuff like that. You know, with the art, you do your thing. You just like if you're in a studio, right? You share it, or somebody else takes a look. Yeah, I like that. Change this, blue, and it's very. I think you know, art is the easiest thing that you can do remotely out of all of the other development processes. So I think that's why, again, the game looks so good. And because the game looks, the environments are amazing. Like I said, if I could show you standing on top of this one mountain, Jibble knows what I'm talking about. You have on one side, it's snow-capped peaks. It literally looks like you're looking at the Rocky Mountains. Like, it's just amazing. And then you can turn around and you can see the volcano, right? Say you turn to your left, you see the volcano, and you know you can, and it's good detail. You know, even though you're a really good distance away, you can see the volcano going off, and you can keep turning. And like I said, you can see across the entire zone, and this zone apparently is like 17% of what the entire world will look like. Somebody was saying it took just to run, no mount, just to run from one end to the other. It's almost 45 minutes. And you can see across this entire zone. And yes, things are off in the distance, so detail changes. But just the simple fact that you can see the mountains or whatever on the other side, and you can still tell that there's some detail there. You can see forests, you can see some ruins. It's just phenomenal. And I think when people see that, I think they're going to look at the game and go, "Wow, man, this game is so this game looks like it's like close to release ready." And it's like, no. The visuals are probably pretty close to release ready. All the fundamental systems are still very much in an alpha state. And I think that might be one of the concerns that they have. And that's why maybe they've tried to hold back the NDA as long as they have. Because the art department, the environment has really excelled. They have really taken off and done phenomenal work. And that's not to take away from anything else. But I think it could give some people the wrong impression. And again, people don't know what an alpha is for the most part anyways anymore because of Steam Greenlight, early access and stuff like that. Where, you know, you get early access. Look at a game like Valheim. It's still in an alpha. Valheim is still in a late alpha phase. And yet it's very playable, right? You basically, it's a nice fun survival game. I have over 500 hours into it, and the game's been out for how long? And I'll probably be playing Valheim after I'm done all this. But it's still an alpha, right? It's still a pre-order. And so, but it's a late alpha. Like they have a couple of big updates to do, and then they'll probably be closer to a beta phase. But their core systems are more or less complete. And that's where Ashes is moving towards, is that completeness of the core foundational systems. And then once they're done, then you kind of move towards the Alpha 2, which is where hopefully we start to see the classes come in, We'll probably start seeing more abilities. That's where we're going to see more of the balancing of the game. Right now in alpha, you're not going to see that same balance. PvP won't be balanced. You're not going to see a lot of the mob creature balance like you will in an alpha 2, right? That's alphas is kind of where you focus on that. Right now, it's do the nodes level up properly? Do the mobs that it's summon appropriately? Do you get access to the dungeons? Are you spawning the right things? Are the creatures, are the NPCs doing what they're supposed to do in general? And that's one of the issues they've been having with the AI bug. They have all of these. It's very generalized in as far as NPCs and stuff like that goes in an early alpha like this. Again, they want to make sure sieges work. They want to make sure the caravan system works. Nodes upgraded and leveled properly. They need to make sure the vassal system works appropriately and properly. Then they got to get into the specific nodes, as far as the religious, military, scientific, or I guess the general, right? So they need to make sure, does that work? Do the guild castles and systems work? All of these, all of the big things that they're trying to incorporate. So right now they're doing a lot of focus on how many players can you have in an area and stuff like that. That's what the sieges are doing. Is making sure that the networking is strong, that you can have all of these people fighting and interacting in these very specific zones. And how is that working? And it's all going very well. Yes, there's delays. Yes, there's bugs. It's perfectly normal, natural. You want things like this to happen now, not at launch. And but again, to the uninitiated, to the uninformed, to the uneducated, these things could also come across as being, oh my God, the game, oh my God, it's broken. It's like, and people will hit social media and I expect to see some of that, right? When the NDA is lifted, yeah, it's a scam and stuff like that. People are already saying that. I've already seen a couple of people make comments about that. They don't understand what an early alpha is, and this game is not even alpha 1 ready, in my opinion. I think they're still in that alpha 0, pre-alpha kind of place. I think the reason why they're calling it alpha 1 right now has everything to do with the consumer protection laws that the European Union has. The fact that they're self-publishing in the European Union now, as opposed to they had a publisher before, but because they don't have a publisher anymore, they're self-publishing. They have to be very cognizant of the European Union's laws on the consumer protections and stuff like that. And they have been saying Alpha 1 this fall for 4 years. And so I think it kind of gets to the point where we have to shit or get off the pot. Now, in development, yeah, you're going to say, hey, our target is, we should see it at this point. But stuff happens, right? It does. And I'm okay with the delays and stuff like that. But once you start accepting people's money, you've basically entered into a loose contract. And the European Union has very stringent rules on those loose contracts. So I think the concern may be that, people could say, hey, you know what? I just want my money back. Or government agencies, like look at Cyberpunk 2077, right? Look at what happened to them because of the consumer protection laws in the EU and stuff like that. They were facing, fines and stuff like that, pretty serious ones. So, obviously, Ashes wants to avoid that. I think that's why, in part, this is coming out as Alpha 1, because I think they kind of have to for, legal reasons, I guess. And it does show progress, I guess, in the game. I'm sure there's other reasons, too. But I personally, I think this is still an Alpha 0 state. I think we're not quite ready there. Now, saying that, every time they have done an update to the client, I have noticed something different in the game. and they've all been good, right? When I first got in, you had floating barrels and floating dead creatures up in the sky and stuff like that. It's all taken care of. You'd see certain parts of the road or the world would be a little off, right? They fixed a lot of that. You couldn't jump on top of barrels or boxes because they all had, the invisible wall kind of going way up into the sky. They fixed almost all of those. There was mountains and stuff where it should be almost sheer up a mountain. You could run it. You still can in many places, but there's some that you can't anymore. So they've already started to kind of make it so you can't just willy-nilly run up the side of a mountain. So they've changed. Like I've noticed the beards changed in the last time we played. Right, you had a very basic generic beards, and now they're getting a little fancier. North part of the map was barren, so they are populating things. So there are changes being made, and they're noticeable. Some are more cosmetic, other ones aren't. Like you said, when I first started, when you did your manual attack, you had this big purple. It looked like a brush of sparks, right, across your screen. And if you had, there's Gibble and I, right, whipping. It would give you it could probably give somebody a seizure. It was very bright in your face, and it just was garish. Now it's a lot smaller. It's toned down in color, and it's not purple. It's kind of like an orangish reddish now. So, and it's got a nice sweep to it. So they are changing these things. So there is progress being made. It's just, is it the kind of progress that they want to see? Probably not. And that's why I do think we may yet still get an NDA pushback. I still think that may happen. And if it does, I'm okay with it. I think this game does deserve the time that it needs to kind of get it to a state that they want.
So will I have to toggle between them?
Well, I'm glad I make you want to buy the alpha. It is fun.
Necessity?
No, you will not have to.
It is fun.
You can use an ability. If you use an action combat ability that's going to be directional focused, you do not have to be in reticle mode to use that. It will fire where that reticle would be. So if you play by,
but you don't have time. Yeah, I know you've been working a lot.
Mode, you can still utilize your action-oriented skills.
But just think, you're supporting the game anyways.
The other thing that I noticed people talking about was when you mentioned aim lock. Freeman asked,
"Hey, if I was making the money I wish I was making, I'd spend more time playing and streaming it." So, I've missed out. I've missed out on half the testing that I could have been doing because, I got this lovely box here I got to pay for because, I think I jumped the gun and spent too much money on credit cards.
Features, so to speak, right? Some of those
are we do need more testers, but yeah, however, I'm not going to tell anybody. But
acquire a target, you will be able to.
Once the NDA lifts, I think.
Right now, that's delegated.
A lot of people who would, I think that will encourage more people to get in on the alpha, anyways. The next alpha testing will be tomorrow. We're not even near. We're probably a year and a half out from a beta, maybe even 2 years from a beta.
And if you have tab-oriented skills, you can use your tab-oriented skills.
But the next alpha test will be tomorrow. Maybe Sunday.
Sorry. Oh, it's so cute. It was like kissing you, like rubbing your head. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Sunday could be the next alpha test.
And then we also get to watch a cat. This is like my dream. So the next question was.
It's just like the old days, right?
Yeah, just don't put the cat butt on the stream. I don't want to get TOS issues.
Sorry.
We have Bez.
We already had the cat's butt in the screen earlier. The cat was standing right in front of the camera. You get a big button right there.
Damage numbers so they can be bigger. So basically, can you change your UI? Also, there were some questions in chat in regards to will crits be bigger text? Like how are you guys handling that? Because that was something different that they probably saw than in the past.
Well, there's no reason why in modern gaming that you cannot give the player absolute control over all of that stuff, right? You want your damage numbers to show yes, no. How big do you want them? What color do you want them to be? How big do you want the crit when it says crit or if it says evaded? What colors do you want? What size do you want? How long should it remain on the screen? All of these options should, in a modern game today, be available to the player. Some of them is accessibility. Some of them is depending on obviously your screen size, your screen type, your refresh rates. I've been looking at a lot of different monitors I want to buy, and some of the things that they talk about is like if you get like a 240 hertz monitor, it's and the 1 millisecond refresh when you're dragging stuff across the screen, for example, what motion blur do you get? How fast do those pixels update? Do you get any ghosting? So you're going to want to have a lot of flexibility in customizing this stuff so that if you do have a monitor that maybe has more of this blur or whatever, you can change these things so that you don't maybe get that ghosting and stuff like that. Hey Bartek, how's it going? Well, I seen the image that we haven't got to yet in environment art. I thought I'd try and match it. So this is about as close as I can get. My beard's not quite as full, but I'm trying to match it. Hey Bartek, I know you've probably read the messages, but feel free to make yourself a promo for the radio. What else? Well, if you are not allowing add-ons, you better have UI options, etc. Exactly. And one says, I mean, if they allowed mods, then they leave those options to the end user, like some other games do. Yeah. Well, the thing is, as far as I understand, they are not going to be allowing mods. As far as I understand, because once you open up the API. For modding, then you're going to get mods that they don't want, right? Like they do not want damage meters, DPS meters. I understand both sides of the argument as far as DPS meters go, because you get the min-maxers, you get the purists, and it does exclude people. But at the same time, people that have too much time on their hands are going to figure it out anyways. So, I got Meadowhawk that probably wants me to pick her up here. So I might have to pause my stream, pick her up, and then come back to it. Hang on, I'm going to text her. Yeah, need a pickup. Just recording a stream. So, and thanks for doing that for the radio thing. Yeah. And hey, I noticed you have a podcast. Yeah, I'd be happy to promote my radio station on it. We were actually talking about the content creator program earlier in my stream, and I'm not sure I'll make it. I don't think I'll qualify because of the radio and how it works and operates. But if I can get enough people interested and kind of build it up, who knows? Maybe things will change. So, but anyway, so going back, yeah, there should be a lot of control as far as what we should be able to edit or change in what we see, right? Such as text size, text color, and things like that. Maybe even fonts. Again, a lot of that is going to be more based on your monitors, your different monitors, and stuff like that. Because it's one thing I don't like when you get some of these games that have a weird font and you can't read it. Because I'm on a 1080p 49-inch TV. It's not even a gaming monitor is what I use. So some of it just washes out, and I can't tighten it up. Whereas I've seen people on your 24-inch gaming monitors, and again, you get a font that it just doesn't look good because it's either too small or you get the motion blur, the pixel blur, or whatever. And so I think you need to give the user a lot of that. And again, in modern computer gaming, I don't see why you can't do a lot of that. And it's not going to really give anybody an advantage. You're just optimizing what we can do. And like you guys say, if you're not allowing a mod, if you're not going to allow, that external content, to create an external UI, then you kind of have to give a lot of that flexibility. And that's one thing Steven has said in previous videos, that the UI is going to be extremely customizable. He's stated that it's going to be customizable beyond anything that we've really seen in another game without using a mod or something like that. So, Jibble, I'm not a fan of meters. Sadly, I think it's not used for helping players more than it is used to grief players. That's my personal view. Yeah, and you know what? You're not wrong. Anything created for the benefit of mankind can also be used to its detriment. Dynamite, right? We all, that's a Nobel Prize, right? Nobel Peace Prize, because Nobel created dynamite, which was supposed to be used to help us build our civilization, right? You could blow through mountains, you could level hills, you could use it for construction, for railway lines and stuff like that. But guess what? Mankind also used it to blow up other men. And he didn't want his legacy in life to be basically the man who blew up the world. So he created the Nobel Peace Prize as a way of trying to incentivize people to do better, to be gooder to each other. So yeah, anything that you put in, somebody is going to use to grief, and that's why I have a lot of concerns with corruption as far as I understand it, and that I don't think it disincentivizes player griefing enough or as much. But we'll have to see. It hasn't been implemented yet. So I have a video about that already on my YouTube channel. Please like, subscribe, follow, comment if you're watching this on YouTube. And my opinions there may change. They may absolutely change.
It's very important to note that in Alpha 1 you are not going to see a solid UI presentation. And that's because our UI currently is still very placeholder, very work in progress. But the intent is obviously for there to be some versatility on the player's behalf to adjust damaged text so that it can fit kind of their desire. Yes, there will be some different animations for those texts that display perhaps criticals and CC effects or heals. There's going to be a lot of versatility there for the players as well.
All right. Hopefully that answers your question.
So again, I might have to pause this because Meadowhawk needs me to go pick her up.
Quite a few times, and if you've been watching our streams quite a bit.
And I still have an hour of the stream to go, and with my tangents and pausing,
showed off some of it.
I probably have
previous live streams where we actually showed
2 hours.
Beautiful lighting with the sunset. It was just amazing. I highly recommend you going back and watching that if you haven't, because it's just gorgeous. Like I can never talk enough about how amazing our artists are, and so I'm glad we have Bacon here to represent. But before we go into art stuff, we do have some more talking points on the design side. So you mentioned that we have the new ability and combat system with obviously the focus on cross-server instances.
I'm excited for that.
Like that. Can you talk a little bit about more of the work that you guys are doing?
I really want to see how that is.
Yeah, absolutely. So a lot of the reason for why the work began on the back-end systems of how combat is done in our game is for optimization, performance, and also just sheer functionality that we want to see present in our construction of certain types of abilities. The previous combat system was, as we were doing testing with large player density, and we were noticing as players kind of move across the world and between these border regions of our servers, it wasn't as performant as we would have liked it to be. So we kind of had to go back and take a look at how we were facilitating this networking for not just the combat and the abilities, but how essentially they're being constructed.
So this is kind of similar to, Ashes of Creation Apocalypse, right? Like when they did the Apocalypse, they realized that in the back end, I believe it was combat systems, there were some serious issues, and they had to go back and completely rework combat. So I'm wondering if this is like part B of that same issue, where they went back and they've been reworking the combat since Apocalypse, and they've been implementing it, and then now this is their refining that process. So this is, you kind of like think about whittling away a log, right? So they had to kind of go back to the start, go cut down the log, cut down the tree, and now they're kind of rough carving the tree to kind of get to what they want, and then now they're getting in and they're actually doing the detail work of the combat. I hope this isn't going to be one of those situations where they have to go back and almost start from scratch again.
And we came up with an approach that alleviated some of the performance concerns.
But it sounds like this is more optimization based.
To dial up the number of concurrent players that we have participating in battles and all across the world. So that was a necessary feature development that had to be done, kind of revamping the back-end system of how combat is done, allowing us now going forward for the design team with this tool, with these tools from engineering, to construct the types of abilities we want to construct with the functionality that we want them to have and the CC effects, and also be performant at the same time.
Perfect. And obviously, if you guys have follow-up questions, definitely ask those in our next Q&A, because we always do these monthly. Now, development is not always pretty. We do have issues along the way, and one of the things that we have been encountering, and a lot of our testers have been helping.
I might have to do a BRB for about 10, 15 minutes to go pick her up.
About what was going on
See if we
with
can
that,
figure out a way to.
How their testing has assisted us, and like how we found a resolution to it.
Well, we haven't found a resolution quite yet.
Close, though.
Close. We're close. For the past month or so, we've been, I guess, not to get too technically into it, but we've been having kind of this issue where, as NPCs die in the world in our testing, right, their behavior tree, their AI controller, stays around and builds up over time the number of those AI controllers that exist.
Can you explain kind of going back one little step of what an AI controller is for people who maybe don't understand what that lingo means?
Yeah, it's essentially the server process that manages a particular NPC's behavior tree and other processes on the server. So as those kind of build up over time, obviously it degrades the server's performance, because now, instead of what we were having, which was around 1,000 active NPCs per little section of the world, now we're getting up into the 6 of thousands, tens of thousands over time. It essentially, as more mobs die, more of those lingering ghost controllers continue to build up, and that causes server degradation and performance issues. So we've been incorporating potential fixes for that over the last month. We've been adding additional diagnostic tools in order to identify what is causing this particular issue. We've been doing a lot of spot tests with our very patient and awesome alpha testers that have been a part of these tests, and noticing some of the degradation on the server side. And when you have the server performance starting to dip as a result of that, that's when you're going to experience things like rubber banding issues,
which I get,
lag with response times for active.
And if you guys listen,
skills and abilities.
So if you guys listen to my streams while I'm streaming, because I can stream Ashes of Creation, but I can't stream Ashes of Creation. So I stream, but I don't show what I'm doing. You have to listen to Phoenix Radio, can't play at game sounds. And then I just put desktop wallpapers up on rotation. And then I talk about what I'm doing, because I can do that. And one of the things I'm sure you guys notice is the longer I'm playing, I start getting more and more rubber banding. And it gets worse, progressively worse, and that's exactly kind of what he's talking about here. And it doesn't take long. It only takes a couple of hours where you kind of get this. So this is a pretty big issue. This is almost like a memory leak kind of issue. Now, the game already chews up 10 plus gigabytes. Like when I first launched the game, it'll ramp up to 3 or 4 gigs. And then again, after a couple of hours, it's at 10, 12, 14 gigabytes of RAM is being used. And that's what they're talking about. So this isn't just a server side issue that they're running into. This is also something that I think is also bumping into the client side as well, to a degree. To a point, yes. Everyone says, does restarting it reset the timing of it happening? Yeah, the server restart. Yeah, if you restart the client, it still happens, but you do get a little bit of time where you don't really, it's not as noticeable, right? So if I'm getting where I'm rebounding, say once a minute, right? I'm getting rebound. Restart the client, go back in. Maybe I'll get 5 minutes before it'll start to rebound. But then that 5 minutes will go to 4.5, 4, 3, 3.5, until you kind of get back to where you're constantly rebounding again. So client restarts helps. Server restart does help. Now, when they restart their servers, it takes like a half an hour. Like it takes them forever to restart their servers. I'm thinking because they have to probably go in and manually clear some caches or something like that. It's not just, you restart the server and it clears memory or whatever. These files that he's talking about, I think they remain I think they're built into this AI, as in this AI isn't shutting these things down and then forgetting about these things. I think what's happening is if when you reboot the server, if you don't clear it, these things basically are operating like a service almost. So they have to work on that. My thoughts are that this could be somewhat due to the fact that Unreal Engine was never designed for an MMO, and they're creating their own code on the back end that is like a transmission, right? You connect your transmission to the engine, and the transmission is a very, very complicated piece of work, and if it doesn't jive with the engine properly, you get some pretty serious issues. And I think that's kind of what they're running into. I think this may be something to do with Unreal Engine and their code, because in Unreal Engine, again, it's going to do very similar things as far as mobs and stuff, but it's more of a single player or a multiplayer game in a smaller sense. So this issue would never really be an issue in that kind of situation. And I think every time they kind of find a fix, it bugs out somewhere else, because again, you're trying to design something to attach to something, and their designs are very different in that regard. And that's going to happen. That's not like Lumberyard, which I think is Unreal Engine too, but Amazon's Lumberyard was modified, and it was modified in such a way, that it was designed with an MMO in mind. But you look at how much New World has been delayed, and it kind of makes me wonder, are they kind of having the same or similar issues with the game engine, with what they're trying to do? And Unreal Engine is a fantastic engine, but again, it's something I don't think was really designed with a massively multiplayer online game like that. Jibble says, imagine if they don't fix this and the NDA is lifted and streamers have to deal with server restarts every 2 hours, let alone the optics for the masses. Absolutely. That is entirely correct. And that's why I think we still may yet see a delay in the release of the NDA. And again, I'm okay with that. Nobody should be upset. Nobody should be angry. That's part and course of development. But there are going to be people out there that will, whine, piss, moan, cry, complain. And it's like, dude, find these bugs now. Because if this bug rears its ugly head in beta, or if it rears its ugly head after launch, well, guess what? You now have to go back and basically redesign the game and then do a complete relaunch of the game. How bad is that going to look versus a little bit of a delay now before this is hard-coded and final-coded into the game?
And it just kind of, doesn't give the best of experiences. So that's been a real issue that we've been, hammering down on over the past month, as I've said, as part of this testing. And obviously the data and the information that we collect from each of these tests goes to help us find, issues like the Ghost AI controller issue.
And then, beyond that, one of the features that we added on was our siege. And so we've been doing a lot of siege.
Yeah, it is.
And also,
yeah, well, she's at her daughter's house, so she's
talk a little bit about maybe some of the specifics that you guys.
She's gonna order food and just eat there.
Absolutely.
So I don't have to get her right now.
Kind of a relatively comprehensive mode.
Yeah,
in the
I don't
alpha
get
that's
whipped. I
intended
do the
for us to
whipping.
kind of illuminate issues that derive from high density player
Though, I mean, I
activities, right?
use it as an excuse to get another
So,
Slurpee
we
because it's
wanted
like
to provide a
26
gameplay
degrees
loop in the
outside right
alpha
now.
that would encourage players, hundreds of players to enter a particular area, all within net relevancy of each other.
For
to
how
kind
many of these I drink,
really,
7-Eleven should be
dive deep
like
into the performance of
giving
the
me
server
discounts.
and kind of our massively
Like there's,
multiplayer encounters.
I get almost
So
one a
there's a few
day
things that
when
happens on the
it's
Siege
this
side.
hot.
Obviously, having all those players in one area. Additionally, we've incorporated some raid bosses so that we have a high usage of skills and abilities that are being encountered in this, not just as a relation to player.
Yeah, so I'm looking there. He does have a Q ability. There's
Sure
1, 2, 3, 4.
Test the
I wonder if
performance
they've
of
changed
our
that now.
AI
We don't have an auto
for our
attack
raid bosses, so there's 3
button anymore.
dragons that exist in the castle.
Because
siege
normally there'd
environment.
be
Additionally, kind of testing some of the destructions that we have, the summoning of vehicles, the utilization.
so that's
of
one.
vehicles,
So yeah,
the
usually there's an
successes
R
for those
button over
vehicles,
here.
incorporating also
I guess you can't see
some,
my mouse cursor.
Siege,
But
mechanics
on
like
either
capturing
side
control
of
points,
that
conferring buffs
taskbar,
onto players on specific
you have the
teams,
fireball.
having players
To the left of
delegated
that
to, specific
was
teams
a
in and
Q
of
button. That
themselves,
was
and
your
the
manual
affiliation that
attack.
exists between those
And then you
players
have the
being able to
mount
join a
button
raid
on the
with
far
one another,
side on the
being able
right.
to,
On the other side of that
capture
was an
a
R
castle,
button.
ending a particular game mode in success or failure, the cleanup step process.
So
that
they made
occurs where you have
couches
to
for
reset
us.
the doors and the.
Oh, I've never had to sleep on the couch.
There's a lot that goes into this particular mode, all of which helps us to test these particular functions and features, so that as we move that logic onto different systems in the game, we will have had a good test bed for them in Alpha 1. So a lot goes into that. Chris Justo, Chang, and Corey Rice.
Take a picture of this. That whip.
They're all very big in getting that Castle Siege game mode up and running for Alpha. It was a last-minute addition. Obviously, we had to delay, which kind of helped us finalize and polish this process. There were some really cool sieges yesterday that we had a few hours of sieging. It was great to see that some of the balance changes that occurred on the siege level.
You had a wife?
I
don't think I knew that.
Back and forth. I think in the first one, the attackers had gotten to a 75% seal.
Never been married. Don't plan on getting married. No benefit to it.
So that was a lot of fun to see. But yeah, there's a lot that goes into it.
I was in meetings during all that. I didn't get to play. But we do have
Used to be
some
tax
footage if
benefits,
you
used to be
haven't checked it
society
out. We have some
benefits.
over on our youtube.com/Ash.
Now getting married is almost frowned
So
upon.
go check out that before you get to see some of the more polished stuff as well. It's always a good way to kind of check it out. People seem to really have a lot of fun with it.
Oh wow.
Beyond that, you guys have been working on.
You must
a
be
lot
older
of
than I think you
quality
are.
improvements for gameplay and kind of polishing.
I have no idea how old you are, but I always thought you were like in your 20s.
That people can expect from Alpha 1, keeping in mind that some of these.
Oh, you sound much younger.
You're going to continue to add even more.
I was thinking you're like 26 to 28.
Oh, it's
so
okay.
sorry.
Quality of life improvements that players are going to experience in Alpha 1.
I was gonna say 60.
That's a good question. I'm not quite sure how many.
Oh, I wish I could be back in my 20s. Knowing what I know now, man, my life would be different.
Testing, core system testing, right?
Well, some of the things like you guys have, made adjustments to the reticles. You've the text pop-ups that were happening before. A lot of more feedback than what you were getting. Some of the key binding stuff, like you weren't able to bind all your keys to what you wanted, and now you can. Obviously, there might be some issues with that, depending on the devices that you have, because we haven't fully tested with every single device in the world yet. But
yeah, I think I think a lot of what's being implemented,
Yeah, exactly.
keeping in mind that with Alpha 1, many of these systems are in their core state. So as we implement additional features for these systems, like you were saying, Margaret, the moving over the hotkey stuff, and adjusting kind of the reticle mode and feedback for the player. I don't know necessarily if I would refer to those as quality of life per se. I mean, this is just kind of polishing the bare bones.
Wasn't that a Rod Stewart song?
That players would come to expect based on the.
If I knew then what I know now.
We're never gonna. Alpha 1's not gonna get to that fully, polished state. It's not intended to be a polished state experience. It's intended to be
I don't have money to blow. I just have credit cards.
Very bare bones. And that's because, from a development standpoint, you don't want to spend a lot of time.
I'm a
polishing
Toys R Us
something that
kid.
is
I never
very
want to grow
likely
up.
To have more iteration and significant changes.
I think that's part of the Toys
even
R
at
Us
the-
theme song, isn't
the
it?
base
I don't
idea
want to
of the
grow up.
particular system. So that's why it looks. I mean, I know a lot of players see our alpha and they're like, "Oh wow, this looks great. It looks like a completed game." But really,
No,
well, I've
I
said it in
wouldn't.
the past,
I
and I would say it again. We're not even.
like I said, it looks visually like yeah, it's almost a completed game. But if you're playing in the alpha or if you're watching the alpha, and I don't think anybody would say that. And I think once the NDA gets lifted, I think people will realize that very, very quickly that the game definitely isn't release ready. It'd be a very boring game otherwise. Like literally all you're doing is running around killing mobs because that's really all there is to do. A lot of the quests don't work. I abandon a couple of them all the time because they're just, they just don't, they're not, for whatever reason, you can't complete them, which they are slowly fixing. So I still take the quests every time and complete them. It's just when you go to turn them in, you can't. It just, all you get is abandon rather than turn in as an option. But again, these are things that are working. They are changing, they are updating, they are fixing and stuff like that.
Even close to the final form. You know what I mean?
Not even.
Yeah, exactly. So there's a lot to look forward to. I think many people who haven't been a part of the Ashes development over the past few years, they can go back like on our YouTube and they can look at just a year ago or a year and a half ago what the difference between.
Yeah, exactly. Crafting will still crash you.
How far it's progressed over that period of time, and then how.
I haven't done any of the crafting yet.
And what core systems have been coming online throughout each month. Like, we are truly sharing our development.
Which is
journey with
surprising
people,
because I'm
so
usually
it makes my heart warm
crafting
to say
probably
that
will
we're
be
not
something I'll be doing a lot of.
Literally, we're trying our best to show you updates. Obviously, we can't show you everything because some stuff is just not ready to show, right? Like, it's just not something that we're wanting to even put into the build that we're showing to our testers yet. So I think that those are things that you just have to keep in mind. We have been doing some other fixes, like we are fixing some teleporting and falling through the world bugs. I know a lot of our testers have been finding a lot of those. How are you feeling about those, Bacon?
Yeah, they're fun stuff to remedy.
I can tell in his
Was just a
sarcasm.
passing, or did you?
I was passing to you if you had anything to follow up on that front.
Oh, I mean, I don't know. I mean, just catching them as they come in and trying to do what we can. It's such an enormous system. Some of these are pretty hard to lock down. So, just taking them one at a time.
Can you talk a little bit about like the back end of how those things happen? Like when a player is falling through the world or that kind
I've
of
done
stuff,
that.
I
I fell through the world once.
I know many of that is like on the engineering side, but
And really, if you don't fall through the world at least once in an alpha, you're not doing it right.
Some weird issues with level bounds recently where, somebody will check in a level and then it'll just pop over, to like another chunk next to it. And then basically now anytime you go to run the world, from that location, you just instantly fall through the world. And that one's been a real reoccurring issue that we've been dealing with for a while.
That's a pretty normal one, though. Every game runs into that.
And
so you guys can kind of. I think people see that in a lot of games, but they don't know on the back end like what causes them. So I kind of just wanted to.
Normally, I'll fall through the world running against stuff.
Just, the level chunk not loading in fast enough.
Yeah, exactly. Even retail games, it can always happen. It's just.
A lot of different reasons for why stuff like that can happen. It's that's partially why it's such a huge help that these alpha testers that we have.
But normally, falling through the world happens when you're falling against or you're running against different assets. So you'd run into like that wall, for example. You run along the wall back and forth a bit, and there might be a pixel that you can fall through. Or like you said, it's a rendering issue. The world isn't rendering something fast enough.
Keep in mind that that team can't find everything, especially at the rapid pace of development that we're going through, right?
It's because you're on your phone.
Sometimes they only have a few hours to vet or smoke test a particular
I'll try and turn it up here more for you, though.
We hand it off to the external testers that we have.
But yeah, I noticed on my phone it's exactly the same way. Like when I watch your streams on my phone, it's exactly the same way.
Alpha 1 testers that might not be in the best of shape.
Should be as loud as I am.
We have the rapport
now.
with those testers that they understand that, and we understand that, and what they're doing is helping us to refine the game, and so they can see that progress each week as they participate in tests. Changes that occur. So
yeah, it's a phone thing
to find those.
My
issues
phone
like
does the same thing when I watch streamers.
Or level unloading and stuff like that.
And then beyond that, we've been working on event system fixes, animation blueprint performance, speed updates, and a ton of other bug fixes.
Still don't like the dwarven somersault jump thing.
So hopefully y'all have been seeing that and experiencing those changes who have been testing with us. And it's only
I did mention that in their chat.
But,
that.
Anything else that you want to add on that front, Stephen, before we head on to?
I think another thing that you could do, because you have cosmetics as far as everybody how they look. I think what they could also do is have action cosmetics. So like the jumping thing, right? So maybe when you jump, you could jump into a fist pump, right? Or you do the jump somersault. You could have other cosmetic jumps that you could do, almost like an emote thing. Like running, right? Like for elves, you could do like the Naruto run, right? 'Cause right now you run like that, but the Naruto runs where your arms are like flailing behind you. She could have that as like another cosmetic thing that they could sell in their store or whatever, make a little bit of money. But yeah, no, it's just, and I will complain about that all the time. That front flip thing with the dwarf should not happen. They are not acrobats. Dwarves are not Cirque du Soleil. Elves do that kind of thing. Dwarves do not. They're stout, they're stocky, they're dense. A dwarf actually physically wouldn't be able to do that. Because dwarves should never be jumping as high as they make them jump in the game anyways. But, yeah, right? Yeah, it's fist pump. Somebody will turn that into a Superman punch.
Environment art, I feel like
it's pay to win.
In the quiet.
Yeah, no, not too much on the design front. I know Aimee and Bucky,
or you can have like a casual where you're just standing around and you're not doing anything. The elf guys could come out and do one of these things,
and Scott and Doug, and
and then you can meme, right? There's a lot of memes that you could incorporate.
Kind of updating quests. They implemented entirely.
It's another entire revenue stream
to the game. They've updated a lot of the questing. A lot of the crafting that's in Alpha 1. And they're doing a great job on the design front. We've also just recently, I think, incorporated some additional elite mobs, changing some of the population of the dungeons.
Those things help with RP too. Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm thinking, right? It's the RP stuff. Because I want to RP a dwarf.
What the full intent of Ashes is intending to be.
Like a Tolkien-esque dwarf.
Vetted during Alpha, that's
because Tolkien.
That's the primary objective.
Kind of created the dwarves. He created orcs.
You ready, Bacon?
He created the modern iteration of a lot of these.
Over to our environment goodies. The first thing here is going to be our
modern day elves
team has been working on
are
a lot of
based off of Tolkien
that are going to be in the world that you guys are going to utilize.
Being tall and
breathing.
Because normally elves were like small, they're brownies, sprites. They were all considered part of the elves
as well. Which, when you look at the concepts versus 3D models, you guys are going to be like, what is what?
That looks really, and I like how they have the comparison of the real life image versus what they're doing.
Utilize it to create the final art, and I'll walk through, or I'll showcase all of those.
Sure. We get the concept art and then we build it.
like some of and how they created some of this stuff.
No, I mean, we get the concepts and then we
I could see somebody trying to create these in real life, especially when they get to the desks here in a little
process, and then building the final model textures and all that stuff. So,
that's really cool.
The first ones here, these are KLR assets that we're looking at. Which have a kind of more of a European sort of kind of bent to them. We kind of designed them so they're a little bit, they got little subtle, sharp stuff going on in them, just to kind of, make them a little bit more foreboding, I guess.
And you're talking about
Yeah,
the fireplace.
it does
the
look really
hearths.
good.
Yeah, fireplace, the lighting,
You know, you got the flags and stuff.
the candelabras, and that kind of stuff.
And it's also important,
like this fireplace. I love that
concept stage. Like
like
there's
you
a
could
style
actually
guide
create
and
that
shape
fireplace.
languages that need to be adhered to based on particular cultures,
Oh,
right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And,
skip past that other one there.
Yeah, so we created a style guide, and it's kind of initially
So
sort of what starts the process, and then Brian's team has been just doing an amazing job with conceptually with all the stuff that we've been plugging into the game, and and then getting the races to really differentiate between each race, so they really have their own style. And I feel like with the dwarven stuff that we've been doing, that it just feels like that race feels really solid to me.
Defenses,
like, especially with all the environment stuff that we've been doing with that. They're I think
like this desk. I can see somebody trying to make that
Empyrean. We were still kind of,
and I think you could
that pre-production sort of zone.
You could, I think you could absolutely make this desk, glass top.
Progress, from the beginning of the project.
Probably have to use
now.
metal for the legs. I don't think you could.
It was the first time that we really had,
like, metal for the legs.
Full-on concept
could do wood all.
And then basically
wood
executing
at the
on
bottom
those designs and them being.
I mean, this would be a fancy desk.
Race, as far as like when you look at them and stuff, every aspect. From the structures to the props to the characters, character armors, all that stuff.
That'd be kind of cool. I don't know if they can do that right now, but that would be awesome if they did.
As we've been doing this, we've been replacing a lot of the assets for the Kalar and the Empyrean to sort of shore them up to get to this kind of same realization that we have with the Denier race. Yeah. So that's kind of what we're doing. So we're tossing a bunch of old stuff out that we had.
Like the Denier stuff
and sort
looks
of replacing
legit.
With the new stuff to really
kind of wish my grandpa was still alive, because I'd be like, I want you to make that. He did wood stuff like that.
Like Confluence pages made for each of the different races. That's super handy for me, because when I'm designing like freehold items or things like that, I definitely look over at those guides to really guide me in regards to each of the different races and what type of building structures are like and how.
I really do like the Denier stuff, especially the bookshelves.
Get these like cosmetic pieces that they fit within the world.
I have thought about seeing if I could find somebody that could actually make stuff like that. I mean, it wouldn't be cheap.
You're doing a fantastic job with cosmetics.
Maybe when I win the lottery,
all that stuff is just.
Or if my stream ever takes off,
really excited
the merch shows up. I need to add more to that too.
But
that's a really cool looking desk. They have 2 drawers there. I guess those would be your drawers.
They're really starting to come together and gel together and fleshing them out. So I don't think.
Some signs that we're going to show off. And what are these going to be utilized for? What did you guys start creating all of these for?
Signs.
Yeah.
Oh, it's like the smithing for. Are you watching the stream, Bacon?
They're all in the running.
Yeah, I don't think these are final names. I think this is just what they have on there.
Scrolling down.
So I'm not going to make commercials based on these names.
That's okay. You can always turn the stream on and mute it.
I don't think
she's talking about like
fishmonger.
Okay, so
I haven't run a show with like what the text is and then like what.
Yeah, we had.
But if they show up in game like that, then we'll
the service buildings that we're creating.
Have to come in
for like
make some commercials for the radio.
And the encampment stage that we needed something that was maybe a little smaller.
I got lots of commercials for people to read.
The
if you want to try your hand at
these marketplace stalls, and then they sort of graduate up to and depending on the level tier, some will graduate faster than others, but they start with the kind of the marketplace cart kind of stage, and then they start getting their own buildings, as the node system ramps up. And so what these signs are for basically for that first layer of village, basically the marketplace stalls for those services. And so that's kind of what these are. So there was 4 of them that were made: the fishmonger, the herb press, what is it, the lumbersmith,
the smithing forge.
The smithing forge. Yeah. So yeah, so it's
people
it's
seem
cool.
Like they're really enjoying them. They said they have personality.
Yeah, and that's exactly it. We're trying to inject this more personality.
There will definitely be tavern signs.
Stuff.
I think we've shown some tavern signs in the past too. So don't worry, y'all. You'll get your tavern signs. Next up is some plants. These first two images
Oh,
are
okay,
in
I see what you're
regards to
saying,
like
Core.
the bark changes that are happening.
Maybe.
Which you
Yeah,
maybe kind of saw when we
Yeah,
were running
that
around
custom
in that
stuff is not
very
cheap.
spooky
So
area.
I guess
but
chat's
it might have been
covering
hard
them.
to see because
Rude
of
of
the
me.
lighting.
Yeah, but those trees in general have just been completely redone from the ground up by
Yes.
Mia
That's true.
Del Casino, and yeah, she's an amazing. Like I
chat
said, she's
over
my
here.
sister.
That was rude having it covering them.
I've been working with Mia for over a decade, and man, she is just so good with
Oops.
she's really good with everything, but yeah, she really shines with vegetation and trees and
Yeah, I seen that one. That
all
was
that
pretty
kind of stuff.
impressive.
So
I love the revamp she did in this area, and I also love that I don't even need to really give necessarily even.
I mean, that
direction
looks
on it.
like
I'm just
that's a look, and that
Mia,
looks
this place needs a
the
revamp.
same
She's like,
in
"I'm
game.
on it."
Like that is legit in game. Oh, what's going on here? Getting a load screen. Or loading circle. Where are we at here? I might have to. I wonder if I need to refresh the page. I wonder if they've taken the video down, and then or re-uploading it. Oh, here we go. Okay,
exactly.
And I mean, you're seeing all of that come in through all of the.
Oh, what's going on? Stop it! Stop! Yeah, I'm just gonna do a refresh of the page here. I think we can find all this stuff back.
Exactly.
And I mean,
There
you're
we go.
seeing all of that come in through all of the plants that you guys have been seeing as we continue to progress. So very cool to show off those. Next up, we have the Oasis. And I actually have some screenshots here, as well as a video that I'll be playing in a moment.
Yeah, we haven't found. I guess this isn't actually in game.
If you go back
so
and you look at some of our previous live stream, we really want to show you the journey of how we create these things. We do it for our character art, we do it for our environment art. But like, if you look at this compared to the concept, I mean.
And I just want to preface also, as you're looking at this, I just want you to imagine how when fishing gets fully implemented and that there's a variance of types of fish that can be found, what type of fish is going to be here and how is that fish going to be caught and what's that process and that minigame we're going to include as part of the larger fish, the fish aspect of that. Because when I look at this place, I'm just like, oh man, I would love to spend just a few hours just vegging out in this area fishing.
Oh, for sure, for sure.
Yeah, until you fish something out of the water that eats your face. You're kind of just like dozing off while you're fishing, and all of a sudden, roar!
We got kind of close to the end of
which I would fully expect to happen.
One deliverable, and
I kind of hope there's something secret behind the waterfall.
I realized that we did get quite a few of those concepts sort of realized.
Because that looks like be a nice little
it just felt like it
area that you'd hide stuff in.
Element, like inland, and so I got together with Tristan and Brandon, and they put together their two of these zones.
I mean, the hype is definitely a thing. Well, what I'll do, I'll just
literally just
make the chat box go away.
So it's
and it looks phenomenal.
And we're coming in hot with a lot of this stuff. Just trying to get in as much as we can, to make this Alpha 1, as cool as we could make it.
I need a new chat box.
Yeah, this whole section.
I need to figure out how to change that.
Out of the park every time that
it says chat box on it. I don't think I need it. I just want nothing, but I keep looking in the properties, and there's no option to make it be nothing.
I'd love to share that if you guys are okay with me doing that.
Yeah.
So I'm going to swap over to video.
Wait,
there's some music. Oh, go ahead.
Tristan likes to add music that's not approved. Is there music?
No, this is
okay.
This is not silly like.
All right, got
Benny Hill music.
I know.
All right, I approved it. All right, we'll play this and we'll be right back.
So yeah, this looks really good. It looks like the waterfalls are looking better. I mean, their water has been looking really good for quite a while. Their waterfalls are getting better too. They're definitely not looking like they did. So definitely looking a little more authentic. Another little mini waterfall over underneath the arch there. And that is very, very pretty looking. Yeah, and this is, exactly. This is how it's going to look in game. Like, it always looks exciting. quite how did the ship get in there? You have a broken ship. Water table must have been a little higher at some point. Or they came up under the arch. Which means could there be buried treasure in that area? Right? Like, what's the lore or the story behind the ship being there?
And so I definitely wanted to show you kind of the screenshots, but I don't think they do justice. Being able to see the 3D world is definitely something. Sorry, cat distraction.
Sorry.
Is obviously much better. And
Cat's now at
for those of you
headrest.
who have been watching our waterfall action throughout the development process, there are some work in progress waterfalls in there. Those are not final.
Yeah.
I just want to make that apparent.
They are looking better.
We have been progressing.
I mean, there's games that are full release
Keep in
that their
mind,
waterfalls are
obviously,
not as nice as that
The aesthetic
already.
of the world is environment team just does such a great job making you guys all do an amazing
thank
job,
you.
and I know you get all the love from the community for that, and it's such an important aspect. Obviously,
Yeah,
Ashes,
I'm
because
glad it's not
exploration
coming out this
is
year.
Such a fun component.
Still
of
too much
MMORPGs.
that needs to be
Especially
done.
when the world is immersive.
But I get your point.
And you can do things like treasure find and fish, and
It almost looks like it'd be a good area for like a PvP battle.
Environment that really lets you get
You could like
lost in
make
the
that like a
idea of
3
this
versus
world
3
is
or
one
5
of the
versus
big
5 little
components of
PvP
immersion.
arena.
And I love the work you guys are doing. You guys are doing a great
Aw.
job.
And
Thank
for
you
me,
very much.
like the fact that you'll be able to have a freehold and like build your own space is also going to be amazing. I've always loved that and enjoyed that in games.
I don't know how much
Because
fish
you
you'd
can
get in there because it doesn't look like it's a very
yourself,
deep
um,
water.
Finding property that you want to live on and like the battle between who gets it first and that kind of stuff. Is always
So I wouldn't
exciting.
mind if it came out this year because of the
And
fact
Tristan
that I
always does
don't.
such a great job with the videos. Well
Yeah,
done,
he's
Tristan.
a beast, man.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. All right, moving on to character stuff because we still have a lot to go through and we have a lot of questions that we want to answer as well. First and foremost, we have a bunch of new hairstyles. You might have seen this hairstyle on Toast. I can't remember if she swapped to wearing a different helmet in the video. We've got
I don't
some
know.
more beards. I love that female dwarf beard hair.
Oh yeah.
These braids.
The hair looks really nice too.
So pretty.
Yeah, these are looking great.
Yeah.
This is
They're very,
Atkins,
very
Chris
nice.
Atkins and Jinsey doing some
Jinsey.
of these hairstyles. These are great looking hairstyles. Really love how far the character team has progressed with this pass on the characters, the races, the creatures, and the
Oh my
armors.
God.
It's all looking very,
The
very
beard.
good.
We need a bacon beard.
You know what's funny about this beard? About that beard was I feel like the hair is nicely done, but the beard is like a castaway beard. Fire!
Totally.
And then I have a little turntable of one of them. So this is the hair with a little bit of
Yeah, see, this is what I'm trying to
braiding,
copy
some,
right
like, a little bun in
here.
the back,
You know, I almost
and then,
have
of
it.
course, You can
That's
see the
looking great.
beard with a little
Yeah.
twirl,
Manny,
and
I think
So I-
Manny did this.
See, I got the mustache
Yeah.
for sure.
it's
I think-
lovely.
You know, I don't have the hair clearly,
Oh my gosh!
but
Yeah, they've
I think
sort
I
of
do a
leveled
pretty
up.
good job. You know,
Oh,
I
character friends,
Absolutely.
especially
I don't
because
have
of
like
the
the little
hair
silver
Specifically, I mean, they've just been doing
things,
some really
but
awesome
I'm
stuff
pretty
with it.
close.
I'm
I'm
so
pretty
excited
close.
for character creation.
Yeah, what do you think? Am I
Getting
pretty
that in,
authentic?
'cause
You
a
know?
lot of people are excited to just kind of get their hands on it and play with it.
I mean, you have to have a really.
I think I'm close. I think I'm close to that.
You have to have a strong beard game.
Yes.
And that's,
I just
that's a
need, I think,
very
to
strong
fill
beard
out
game.
a
I
little
like
bit.
that.
All right, next up we have
But
Death's Hand, which
yeah,
you might have
that's all I was
seen
going for
on,
the stream today.
I think I was wearing
So,
a
for that
breastplate,
moment,
like
for
his
that-
part. Steven
all
was
of this
wearing
for
the
that
mask,
moment.
I was wearing the belt too.
Yeah, you know what's great is that Corey Rice did me a big solid last.
And I
night,
don't
so
have
I'd
a
like to
job
get
right
some of
now,
these costumes
so-
in, so
Mind
that
you,
we
I
can
think
be
I have
wearing
some
them on the
work
stream
coming.
today,
I do
so
have some
big
work
props
coming
to
up this
Corey on
summer.
that
So
front.
Corey, I almost
Yay,
cried
Corey.
this
hopefully it'll
morning
be
'cause I was
hopefully
like,
it'll
when
be
I was
enough
turning them
to
on,
to
'cause
pay off
for
my
me, obviously
credit
I
card
helped
debt.
design some of these.
and then I'll go back into debt because I still have monitors and a video card.
But
Video
seeing
capture
what you
card.
create,
That's
getting
my
in the
next
game
one, is the
is
video
just very
capture card.
emotional. I don't know why. I got really emotional.
Oh, I know, right?
That's
gonna be
probably
scared
500
of my
bucks for that
emotional
one.
State when we actually
When we
launch
launch?
Ashes.
Yeah.
I know. It's just like-
Those masks are
I'm
pretty
gonna do
creepy looking.
reballs,
Definitely
but-
cultist.
Aw, it's happy to
Definitely a
though.
cultist.
I love
And it looks
that
like they're
our
kind of
artists put them in the
dragon.
poses that they are in the concept art.
You know,
for
kind of a
the
dragon
turntable
look.
Of this, but obviously, you know, we've
So
shown off a lot
there's
of
got to be
different
some sort of a
costumes and
lore
things
or
of that
something to
sort.
that.
So I wanted to
I
show
guess
this
it's
one.
very
We
dragon
also
related.
have our still soul plate. which is
That
coming
looks like
around.
the dude
You
from
know, I think you've been seeing the
from
progress of this
behind. Looks like
one.
the dude from
We've been getting a lot of
Justice
feedback in
League.
regards to it.
Doesn't it?
Obviously, the goal is to make it kind of feel like it's like this encased ice armor.
Yeah.
That's really what I was going for when I designed it. So we've continually added some more
For a
changes
wig.
to this as we've
I
moved
can
forward.
grow hair.
Danny-
I just
Danny
choose
did
not to
this
right now.
and did a great job
I'm a little.
with
I get
this
a little
set.
thin on the top.
Yeah, looks great.
It's looking
They
good.
split the armor sets
Turn
when they
tables of it
dress
as
their
well, so you guys
characters,
can
and the
see
stream
it
is up.
in the 3D model.
Yeah, that they did. Or Dark Souls.
You can
Yeah,
give it a little
maybe.
pose, which I love.
So edgy.
And we
I
moved the
haven't played
sword
Dark
and
Souls,
the,
but
you
maybe.
know, the giant
But from
staff.
behind, he kind of looks like that dude from the
Definitely has a
Justice
lot of
League
edge.
movie,
Lot
the
of
bad
edge, lot of
guy.
ice edges.
I will be honest, the edgelordy cosmetic sets are my favorite to design. That's
But I know
definitely,
what they've.
my inner-
I know what they said with the cosmetic armor sets. You can't mix and match, right? So if you bought, they'll like say you bought this as part of the monthly set. Then your character would look like that. There aren't sub pieces, so you can't mix and match. But there are other sets that are, so you will be able to mix and match other sets. But when it comes to these full cosmetics, like what you buy on the monthly deal, the monthly cosmetics, that's the whole look. You cannot alter that look,
my inner goth vibes coming
from what I
through.
understand.
Speaking of which, we have Brass Harbinger. Some
Goro
of this is work in
Kong.
progress.
That's
so
what I
just
call
keeping
these
that in
guys,
mind that
Goro
these are work in
Kongs.
progress images, but we always like to show you guys the work in progress as we move forward. And
Yeah,
continue
it's
to
pretty
add
common.
New things. We also have the 3D turntable of this bad boy.
Look at I like it because in one of the I think of the way that image
Can
is
get a
set up,
little
it looked
tail?
really small in this in the
Yeah.
corner.
Just wait. The reason why that's like that, you're going to see something. You're going to see
okay.
something exciting. That's why he's tiny. Are you guys ready?
Oh no, I'm scared now.
So we try to tell
Yeah.
you guys that we make a lot of variants from the different
Well, it
creatures
looks
that
like
we create, so
Goro
that you experience
from
different creatures in the world. And we
Mortal
do show a
Kombat
lot
with
of
the
them every
4
month,
arms.
but this one I'm just so excited to share.
But
with
he also
you
looks
all,
kind of like King
which
Kong,
is this
especially the big
guy.
dude.
He's so epic.
Yeah.
So it's like
Yeah.
King Kong with
Wow.
4 arms, which makes him
Yeah,
Goro
these are
Kong.
two poses, obviously. For some
I
of
can't
these.
wait to see that as like a group boss. Oh, I can imagine some of the
Oh, when he
animations
picks
and
up
skills
4
for him.
people,
Oh, I know.
like carries them in the air. And you
Now,
have
of
to,
course,
like,
the
shake the hand
2
to, like, get
arms
him
on the
up,
side,
Like, oh, so cool.
physics
But, yeah.
speaking, would not
I'm
be
really
as
excited to see
strong
what
as
the
the
design
top
team
arms.
does
They'd actually
with
be
with these,
probably
and
half
of course,
as
the
strong.
variants that
This
come out of
is
it.
this is Keith.
But
Kovac,
they're
I
lower
believe, who
center
did
of
this
gravity, so they would have advantages over the top arms.
Right. And I think we're ready to head on to our Q&A, unless you have anything else you want to add on the character art side, Steven or Bacon.
No, just a lot of stuff coming out of the character art team. Chris Atkins and Jinsey and Danny and Carson and Manny. You guys are all doing.
I
a great
know.
job.
I get a
Keith,
little
all
analytical
doing an
like
awesome
that.
Job. Stuff's coming to life, and it's awesome to see it getting.
I actually
into the
remember
game
watching
and
a YouTube
alpha.
video about that.
This is really
About
like Steven
you
being a
know,
teacher.
could
saying
you
he can remember
have
all
a
his
4-armed
students'
creature like
I
that?
know, and I'm,
You
oh
start
my
naming
God,
them. I'm
if
like,
I
oh,
And,
we gotta name
forget-
everybody on
if
that
I
team.
forget
They
this,
actually
I'm
had like
so
a
sorry.
doctor or something like that. But it's buffering again. And yeah, I said evolutionarily speaking, it's possible, but they would almost be useless. Like they would not have a lot of strength because the part of what makes our arms strong enough to do what they do is up here. It's the traps, and you know, it's just how the shoulder blades connected, and it's everything up here that you don't have,
messing
right,
with
with
you.
those lower arms. So
Moving
they
on to our
could be
Q&A. Of
they'd be
course,
more
we'll play, like, a little
vestigial,
bit
I
of their
guess. Like
video
they
in the
could
background whilst we
work
chat.
to
We'll try
hold
to get through as
things,
many as can. I think I have
but
about 30
as
something
far
here,
as
so
their
we'll go
strength and
quickly.
power,
Yeah.
they're not opening pickle
So we
jars.
have
So
Tyrantraxis. I'm sorry if I probably
you could use them more for balancing stuff.
Talking about
You know, so your
temporary mounts.
dexterity
Will
would
players receive
probably
any kind of,
improve.
memento by which to remember any of the amounts that can die or expire, like a core item. Oh,
No. Once it's gone,
Yeah.
it's gone. I'm sorry.
Stephen Savage.
And it's mainly because you don't have the anchoring muscles.
Nope.
Like you have, because your
I'm just
biceps,
messing.
all your biceps
Half-Tilt
are
Gamer
for
wants to
is
know
your
if
forearm.
forearms
That's it. Like your
augments.
biceps are just your
Will
forearm
I
strength.
be
So there'd be no
selecting
shoulder
augments on a
strength.
per skill
So
basis,
you could
or can
curl
I only choose
something,
one augment school for
but
my whole
you wouldn't be able
build?
to lift
No, you'll be
something.
selecting them on a per skill basis.
So
the
basically,
augments
where
will
your
stem
arms
from
are,
a few
you
things,
could
from your
kind of
secondary
move
archetype
them a little bit,
selection,
but you
from
wouldn't have a
perhaps
shoulder
the
blade because your ribs are
organizations
there.
or
So you wouldn't be able to
religions
put
you're
your
a
arms
part
like
of,
this,
and then
right? Your
as
arms would
you
always be out here, and
as
then you could do that. You'd be
have
doing
those
this all
selections
the time.
available,
You'd be
go
doing the
across your
roboto
individual active skill set
thing.
that's derived from your primary archetype. You'll have a selection of augments that will be applicable to different skills.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
The
they'd
next
still
question is in
beat you
regards to
good. I mean, they'd be good
bounty
for
hunting, and this is from
shields, right? You could hold a shield
Machiavelli. I like saying the name
really well.
Machiavelli. It's fun.
Yeah,
And you could do little
Isn't that
swiping.
Isn't that from
Matrix.
no, but
The
yes,
Matrix?
it is from the Matrix.
It's
but,
Moriarty.
I thought Machiavelli wasn't that
Moriarty.
Sherlock Holmes, a villain or something?
Oh yeah, yeah.
Ooh, yeah.
Yeah. Because I remember, I remember that, right? It's from a Star Trek episode. Next Generation.
Of course.
Nah.
Yes.
Of course.
Something to
it's
do with a
from Star
holodeck.
Trek.
Gotta have something to do with a holodeck.
I might be wrong. It might have been something else. I don't know. Starts with an M. Moriarty. No, that's Moriarty.
Oh,
no,
Moriarty. Yeah. Okay. I was wondering. I was like, what is
Their
Machiavelli?
costumes look really
I can't
good.
remember.
I mean, the character models are really,
So
really
this question
good.
is about bounty hunting, and it is: if multiple bounty hunters team up to try and take down corrupted players, who gets the credit for the kill? Entire party, or just the person who gets the last hit on them?
For right now, it's going to be the person who gets the last hit. We may change that to any contributing damage source, but we'll see. But for right now, it's last hit.
Okay. And Skyri02 wants to know.
Yeah, I still have a lot of
item
questions
features
about
for
corruption.
players who
We'll have
want
to see how it
purchase
actually
things
comes
like
out.
mounts in a
Like I said,
trade
I have a
or
video about
auction,
corruption
be able
already.
to preview them before buying
That
them.
gives my early thoughts on
Something
it
like a
based
little
on
preview window
what
that
was
you
available
can
at the
see how
time.
your character-
Right now,
I
that is
haven't
not
revisited
planned,
it
no.
yet, but I'm
So,
not
if
convinced the
you-
corruption
if you
system
have the
currently
ability
is
to kind
enough
see
of
other
a
players with it,
disincentive
right,
for griefing.
See it as part of like caravans or something like that, then you'll have insight. But otherwise, no, there won't be like a preview section for player-to-player trading or auction house.
Do you think that's something that maybe down the line, like past launch, that we could maybe implement as like a UI quality of life update?
Maybe it's definitely not in the scope for pre-launch,
sure.
but maybe afterwards.
Hey man, I'm just trying to
No, I
follow up
know,
some questions for him.
The thing about the corruption system I don't like right now is if you attack me and I do nothing, I lose 100% death penalty, right? It's a 100% death penalty. So you attack me and I do nothing, you'll get corruption, but I take 100% death penalty, which means I lose whatever loot I have, that the material loots that is available to drop. I think it's like 50%, and then I take full death penalty. Whereas if I fight back, I only lose, I think it's 50% death penalty. So you lose, I think, 30% of whatever materials you have on you that's collected, and then you take 30% death penalty rather than 100% or 50% XP death penalty versus 100% XP death penalty. So if it's 10%, then it's only 5%. I don't accept that. If I'm running around in the game and I'm kind of in an open area, I'm not in a desert. Well, I mean the whole world's a PvP zone, right? There isn't a PvP zone. But if I'm in my area, like for my level, whatever, chances are somebody attacks me that is my level, I will probably fight back, right? Because I have a chance at winning. But when somebody comes in that's 5 or 10 plus levels higher than me, they get the first hit guaranteed before I even have a chance to know that they're there. They'll probably get 2 or 3 hits on me by the time I orient to them and start, casting a spell or whatever. So I'm already at a huge disadvantage. And, because they have a few levels on me, it's almost a guaranteed death. I don't think that's fair. And I think it doesn't, I don't feel I feel like I'm forced to participate in PvP in that kind of situation, right? I actually used some stronger language, I think, in my video. I edited most of it out, but I think I left the comment in there at least once. So I'm kind of waiting to see exactly where they finish with that. 17 XP, 17% XP in your items is a small amount, not 30%. Well, then they've changed it because I remember, if you do not fight back, it's 100% death penalty. If you fight back, you lost less stuff overall, right? If you still lose. Now, if you're corrupted, you are viewed as an NPC, so you do not have to flag for PvP to kill a corrupted player. I like that. That's good. Now, how much does corruption affect your status? Apparently, that is going to be somewhat based on that level difference, right? So if you're 10 levels higher and you kill somebody, then the amount of corruption you gain is going to be higher versus if you're the same level. So that I think is okay. But again, if I'm minding my own business and somebody's riding through and decides they just want to kill me and they're X amount of levels higher than me, I honestly shouldn't lose anything. I think there should be a cutoff. I think if you're 10 or 15 levels higher than the person you're attacking and they don't fight back, they should lose nothing. I'm already going to have to respawn somewhere else and run back to wherever I was for whatever I was doing anyways. And they still haven't really covered what happens if a player uses the environment, right? So say I'm fighting a mob and, maybe I'm fighting a little bit above my belt, right? A player comes by and so it's a pretty even battle, right? Pretty even. Somebody comes by, whacks me a couple of times, doesn't kill me, but the mob does. Do they get corruption? Because they attacked me. And if they didn't attack me, there's a good chance I could have survived the battle with the mob, right? So do they get corruption? Because that's a form of griefing. That hasn't been answered yet. So, but at that point, you will not have PvP in game. Majority of players are not open world PvPers. Right, exactly. You have caravans, PvP, right? You willingly engage in a caravan, either to defend or to attack. If I choose to run a caravan, then I am accepting that there is PvP, right? Node sieges. Again, PvP. I have the option to defend my node if it's attacked, or I can run away, or I can choose to attack a node, right? Because anybody can join the attack, not just whoever dropped the scroll. Guild sieges, or guild castle sieges, same thing. So there's already a number of PvP situations, right? A raid. If I go and I participate in a 40-man raid, again, I have to accept that there might be another guild or another raid group in that area, so I have to prepare for that, right? So you have 40 people that run the raid. You have another 20 people in a sub raid that are running flank or running defense for anybody that comes up behind you, right? Like, you have to pre-plan this kind of stuff. So I'm okay with all of that. What I'm not okay with is, like I said, I'm just out in the world doing general questing. I'm just going from point A to point B, and somebody rides by that's 20 levels higher than me. Maybe they're having a bad day, right? And they just drop off their mount, cut me down, and then they can go and burn off their corruption. Now, the one thing I had questions about that they did answer was about people that would have a character that would be for corruption, that would attack these other players, get all their loot, and then trade that loot to a guildie, right? And then that guildie would not get corruption, but they'd have all the loot. And then you could kill the guy with corruption, and they would drop whatever rusty armor they have on, because they're not going to run around with good armor if they have corruption, right? They're just not going to do it. So they've already said that they'll probably have it where you will not be able to trade any of those items if you're corrupted. Okay, but can you still put it in a chest somewhere? Or is it like can you still hide it, so that you can go hide it, burn off your corruption, or die, then pick it back up, and then you can trade it? Or should those? I think those goods should become corrupted, which means you could still sell them or whatever, but you won't get full value out of them, or you wouldn't be able to use them for certain things, right? I think that would be a nice mechanic to add in, because the whole idea of the corruption is to disincentivize people from doing things that would make you, from player killing, from griefing, corpse camping, stuff like that. And like the bounty system is kind of nice, but now you're actually creating a system that encourages corruption because you have a bounty system. So now the corrupted challenge for the corrupted players: can they kill the bounty hunter? Right? How does what dynamic works there? What does the bounty hunter drop? So there's all of these things that they haven't fully committed to yet. Are there not arenas that are open PvP? Well, yeah, exactly. There will be arenas. No trade, and you have to have them on you to burn off corruption. Yeah, something like that. Yeah, and I'm with you. I'm not an open world PvPer myself. I like the crafting, the trade, and stuff like that. But yeah, like I understand if I'm farming all of these materials that there's value to them, but I can only carry so much on my person. So the idea is I gather all of these materials, take them to my freehold, or I take them to my apartment, and then from there to get them to the auction house or to get them to the guild hall, I now have to create a caravan. Otherwise, I'm running back and forth, and it's so time consuming. It's not worth it. So now I have to create a caravan, and then now I have to plan appropriately for said caravan. And I think that is a better use of PvP. Again, I don't like you can still have open world PvP. I could flag if I want to be PvP, but set alarm for 3 a.m. I can see it now. Well, here's the thing. You're going to have guilds that their entire purpose is for caravans, right? So you're not going to run a caravan all by yourself. Everything in the game tells me that's a really, really bad idea. You're going to have to pay NPC guards, or you're going to have to get your guild involved. Like to just run a caravan all by yourself is not going to end well. I would expect you're going to have NPC bandits that will probably try and come after you as well, right? Because you have all these coin changers, and right now in the alpha, there's a lot of these thieves, and they're all over the road. So I would expect that if you're running a caravan, I would expect that to trigger as well, where you'll have these NPCs attacking your caravan. And so maybe if you're wanting to attack a caravan, you wait for one of these little mini events where you get 6 or 8, right, of these guys attacking, just as distracting, and then you roll in or up on the caravan. Mind you, though, those bandits would fight everybody, or they would probably fight you, because they want to get rid of you so they can attack. Figure something out. But yeah, I'm not a huge open world PvPer in the random sense of somebody could just run by, smoke me on the back of the head, I drop some stuff, and then they're off and running. And then now I gotta find a bounty hunter to get my stuff back or something like it. I just don't like it. I just don't like it in that regard. And one says there are people whose entire purpose in any game that allows it is griefing because they find it fun. They get something out of it or not. I mean, it's unavoidable. Yeah, exactly. You will get people. Okay, look at Grand Theft Auto 5. Okay, you have Grand Theft Auto 5 has 3 characters, right? You have Townsend, You have the black kid, I forget his name, and then you have the other crazy guy, I forget his name too. So GTA based those 3 characters off of the 3 most common character types, right? So Townsend's the career criminal. He's the guy that basically has kind of made it big, right? So then you have the black kid. He's the rookie. He's the fresh face. He's the guy that starts from nothing and works his way up to being very, very successful. And then the other guy, he's a psychopath, right? All he wants is anarchy and destruction and mayhem and violence, right? Those are the 3 most common character types of players who play GTA. So they exemplify, I think, the 3 archetypes of people that are going to be in an MMO as well. You have those people that are questing and they're doing the storyline. They're kind of like your role players, right? They're kind of progressing as you would expect players to progress. And then you're going to have those players that play the game more like an open world sandbox. They're not really following the quest lines to any degree. They're kind of just doing their own thing, right? They're moving at their own speed. And then you're going to have those people that are, again, the psychopaths, the anarchists. These are the people that want to just see if they can make it all burn down. World of Warcraft, the Blood Plague, if you remember that was back when the Zandalar expansion. I think it was Zandalar, wasn't it? That troll instance in Stranglethorn Vale, right? Where if you got this poison, you could spread it to other people, right? This blood poison. Well, people figured out that if you got this poison and you could get out of, like, you hearth, and if your pet got it, I think it was the pets, because if your pet got it, you would get it. So you'd constantly give it back and forth to yourselves. That was the bug of it. And so people would hearth back to a city, and then they'd start spreading this blood plague around the city. Guards would get it, and the guards would, obviously they wouldn't die, so they'd have this blood plague. And you had all these low character people, and it was just killing. It was a massacre. It was just, and it was because and in that massacre you had people trying to heal everybody, right? Trying to be the good guys, right? Trying to do the right thing. But you had people that were intentionally getting this plague and doing everything they could to spread it around. So yes, you are exactly right. There will always be those people. Yes, yeah, Ogrimmar Feel of Bones. You will always have those people that are going to find a way to manipulate the system for that purpose. And so that's my worry with this whole corruption thing. I don't think it disincentivizes corruption enough. I think somebody's going to figure something out with this corruption, and it's not going to be all bad. Depending on how they go and do it. With the fact that you have bounty hunters, you're actually creating a mini game within the game because of this type of grief. Because this type of griefing will go on, kind of concerns me a little bit. So that's just kind of my thoughts on that.
I'm just trying to keep the scope in range.
And like I said, I have a whole video I did months ago. I think I did it last year.
Jalon wants
about
to know
that.
Music. Yeah, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
Music.
Will Intrepid own the distribution rights for the music made by Bear McCreary for streaming DMCA purposes?
Yes, the Ashes of Creation and Intrepid Studios will own the music of Ashes of Creation.
Yeah,
yes.
And just so you all know,
it's not even a question you need to have asked.
Music or put out any music in our game. Our plan is to not, we want content creators to be able to create content utilizing our game. So, just
DMC takedown.
Yeah, just message us and we'll try to resolve any of those problems if you do encounter any. So
now, Jalen just needed to look at licensing to understand how that works. But it's a good question, fair question, and I can talk about a little bit about that because, I'm running Phoenix Radio. Streamers may use the radio while they're streaming. There will be licensed and unlicensed music. So here's how it works in this situation, right? Bear McCreary can license anything that he creates himself. But because he's being employed, he's working on contract for Intrepid Studios, anything that he creates that Intrepid Studios uses, Intrepid Studios owns, not Bear McCreary. Even though he is the artist and or the composer and whatnot, he will get credit in regards to that, but he cannot make any DMCA claim against that. Only Intrepid Studios could, because Intrepid Studios has they've contracted him, therefore they own the license to all of that stuff. And I just got a chime here for okay, YouTube subscription, awesome. So that's kind of how that works, right? So Bear McCreary did the music for a game called Defiance. I own all of it. I could use his music on the radio, and it will not be DMCA'd because Defiance or Tryon Worlds, or I think it's Gamigo now, owns the license for that music. But why would they want a DMCA? Because it promotes their game. Now, Defiance doesn't exist as an MMO anymore. They shut it down in April. So the game no longer exists. So technically, I guess they could run DMCAs, but why? So no game that produces its own music, I think, would ever do that. I know Nintendo was kind of doing that to streamers. That was visual content. So it's a little different. But when it comes to musical license, now I will have a license for the radio anyways, which means I can play the music on the radio and you can listen to it pretty much anywhere. But this is how the licensing works with streaming services. So although I own or I buy a license, which allows me to publicly perform music, right? I'm a DJ in real life. So if I'm at a wedding, a corporate event, a school, a park, I could set up my equipment in Walmart's parking lot and I could play music. Nobody could, well, other than saying, we don't give you permission to play music here. Nobody could DMCA me, right? Nobody could come and say, hey, you cannot play this song because I paid for licensing for public performance. So I can play the song. Now, there are certain artists that don't fall under that licensing, right? So my license covers like 90% of all the music you would hear on a regular radio station. But there are certain artists or songs that aren't that don't fit under that license. So the band could still come by and say, hey, we don't want you playing that song. I'd have to come up with a separate agreement with them for public performance. Now, it's kind of understood that if it doesn't fall under the general license, the general copyright license that I would pay. So in Canada, it's SOCAN. In the United States, it's RIAA. I think BMI has one, and ASCAP, ASCAP or something like that. Now I'm in Canada, I don't have to pay those, right? I have to pay the Canadian version. Now, technically, though, Americans shouldn't be listening to the radio because I'm not paying licensing in the United States, but because everything is hosted in Canada and because of the nature of the internet, you are connecting to me. I am not broadcasting to you, right? So that's the difference. You download from the internet, right? So when you don't go to a website, in fact, the website comes to you. So it's based on where you're hosted. So I try to keep everything in Canada because my licensing in Canada is a hell of a lot cheaper than it is if I have to pay the US licensing and the European licensing, because I'm, anybody all over the world could connect to Phoenix Radio. Now, if a band isn't under a contract with the licensing agencies, well, then it basically what that means is they're not getting a royalty from any licensing that I pay. So again, I can play their music without permission because they're not under a license. But if they contact me and they say, hey, we would like to create a licensing arrangement with you, or can you please take our music off? Then I have to do that, right? Under the Canadian law. Then I have to remove their music from the radio until such a time as I have a written agreement with them. I actually have done that with a band called Windrose which is a Dwarven heavy metal band. I have their permission via email to play their music and stream it because they're not under any license. But I can also use their music for commercials and stuff like that. I can mildly edit, but not for profit, right? So I can make my fake commercials and use clips of their sound. I have their permission. I sent an email to Danheim for the same thing. And so I that's kind of how it's a little more complicated than that, but that's kind of how that works. Which under Twitch, they will only DMCA or they only mute songs that are under license by RIAA, ASCAP, BMI. So if an artist isn't under license, then they are not in the catalog. So their scanning technology only scans within their catalog. Now you can still get false positives. You can still get a song that sounds like or similar enough to a licensed song and it'll get caught up. Not much you can do about it. Now, because I do have a license to publicly perform music, Twitch does not, right? Twitch doesn't have that license. So I can stream music and I myself will not get into trouble, but Twitch can because Twitch is rebroadcasting what I'm broadcasting. And that is why Twitch mutes the music. That is why Twitch, when there's a DMCA, does their notices and stuff like that because Twitch doesn't pay that license. So if I'm playing a band or an artist, they could send me a letter saying, hey, unless you have a license, don't play our stuff. I provide them proof of my license and they go, okay, we're good. Then they can go to Twitch and say, hey, you don't have a license, so you need to not allow this song to be broadcast over your service. And that's what this big DMCA thing has been all about. There's also an argument made that when you buy the song, you have a certain amount of ownership, and you should be able to broadcast the music to your friends. And this is why there's some gray area with Discord and having screen sharing a movie or a TV show on Discord, because Discord only limits you to like 10 people. So it kind of falls, again, gray area of the law, that if I own a movie like Aliens, I can invite all of my friends to my house and together we can watch Aliens. I don't have to pay a license for that. Whereas UFC, I would have to pay a license if I invited all my friends over, right? Because it's a pay-per-view, and it gets really convoluted and stuff. And I'll be honest, every artist I have talked to, none of them like this whole DMCA stuff. Every single one of them that I have talked to, and they're all mostly independents, have said they want us to be able to play their music over our streams. They want that because that's exposure. That's how they get heard. That's why I have a lot of independent artists that I have on Phoenix Radio, because these are people that are giving me their music. They're like, dude, like, here's my stuff. Please play it. And I'm like, yeah, why not? I still buy it when I can, but I've had some just drop off CDs, a lot of the local people, or give me a link and they're like, just here, download them all, because they want to be heard. It's only the record labels that want this licensing because they want the money, right? They want the cheddar. The bands, they don't get really anything from the licensing that I pay. Like it's nothing. It's pennies, literally, if that. All of that money stays within the record label themselves. So the bands, that's why you see more and more bands going independent. That's why you're seeing more and more bands and artists just do YouTube or Bandcamp. They're not wanting to sign up with these labels. You look at Tom McDonald is a fantastic example of that. You look at the content he's able to put out. It would never be able to come out otherwise. Anyways, that's a big, long tangent. I'm sorry. But, yeah, let's continue.
Yeah.
Keep me updated.
Tangents. I do tangents.
But I'm usually pretty forward-thinking on that front. Our next question is from a rise site, and they want to know about resistances. Will each monster have its own
But it's
set of
great that
resistances and vulnerabilities?
the question
or
was
will the
asked
game
because I think
feature
it is valid.
specific types, i.e. like D&D and Pokemon?
Well, Jibble, you're still here, so you must not mind that much.
Monsters will have certain types of resistances, right? And there will be counterplay between how characters construct their skills and abilities with influences from
I think
types
resistances
of,
is very important.
resistance penetration, and that will
You know,
be
forces you to
contested stat
spec
against the resistances of a
properly
particular monster,
for your,
right?
your situations.
Not every monster is going to have unique resistances, right? They'll share groups of types of resistances based on
Usually your
whether that
your dungeons are based on
monster is a
resistances. So
particular
you'll have a
element
raid dungeon that'll be
or a
primarily
particular,
one type versus another.
heavy
Like
armor,
Molten
particular
Core
weapon
in WoW.
type, stuff like that.
You know,
So there
clearly
will be
a lot of fire
resistances,
resistance.
groups that are shared by certain types.
You know,
of
where
monsters
in
their
Northrend,
location and as it relates
you know,
to their
your
lore and background.
cold environment, they have more frost
And then
resistance.
Nostra wants to know about siege scrolls. Is a siege scroll able to be modified once it's obtained? If the example, if the node advances while we were questing to get the scroll itself.
No. The questing that is incorporated as part of attaining that particular scroll is very particular to the type of scroll you're attempting to acquire.
I think that question was asked
not
badly.
Just of the materials required as part of that questing, but also the time associated with completing that quest, because we want there to be a reciprocal relationship between how much time it takes to stand up a node of the particular size and the types of quests that are required in order to attain the siege scroll. So there won't be a method by which you can first attain a scroll for a lower level node and then increase or augment or change that scroll after you've completed the quest. You'll have to go through a new quest again for the type of level node you want.
Okay, so again, this is a badly worded question, and I don't think the question. I think what the. So okay, here's what I think the question was meant to be. Because yeah, if you're questing to get the scroll, you don't have the scroll yet. And so if the node advances, then the requirements that you're questing for are going to change. So everything you have will probably still be relevant. You'll just need more of it. Now, I think the question should have been, when you obtain a siege scroll, does that scroll activate immediately, or does it have a timer that you can use it within? Now, because obviously you can't have a siege scroll that will last forever, right? That's not fair. It's just not going to work. So I think you're going to have a siege scroll that would say have a 72-hour cooldown or 48-hour cooldown, right? Like, obviously you're questing to get the scroll, but you're not going to be exactly 100% on time on when you get the scroll. Hey, Alex, just doing a live reaction. Good to see you. So you don't know exactly when you're going to have all the materials to buy a scroll. And so if the scroll activates immediately, well, what if you accidentally get everything you need, or somebody turns in everything 12 hours before your guild is supposed to be around, right? So, somebody's just questing in the middle of the night. They're not thinking. It's 2 or 3 in the morning. They're kind of have some insomnia. And so they're just questing and they turn it in. All right, boom, siege activated. Oops. Now the siege has a countdown for the siege location to get ready. But I think the question should have been more along the lines of is when you obtain a siege scroll, does the scroll itself activate immediately, or is there a cooldown, or not a cooldown, or is there an activation window that you have to activate the scroll? And then once you activate the scroll, then the node gets notified that there's a siege and there's a preparation period before that siege commences. So the question then would be, if I buy the siege scroll and the node levels up after I've gotten the scroll but before I've declared the siege, what happens? So my thoughts on this are, and I haven't read too much on this lately to see if this has changed or whatnot. My assumption would be is once you get that siege scroll, I think it activates. I think you get the siege scroll, I think it drops. Because if you had any kind of, I can buy the siege scroll at 3 in the morning, but I can wait until 3 in the afternoon to activate it. And then that triggers a 24, 48, 72 hour cooldown for the node to prepare. I don't think that's fair to the node, right? Because I think once the node levels up, I mean, sure, you get all these new buildings and stuff, but there's certain advancements that you won't have access to for defense, right? Because a town isn't going to have the same defensive capability as a city, or as a city versus a metropolis, because you're going to have places, for trebuchets and bulwarks and ballistas and stuff like that, behind your walls. Well, I don't know if you're going to have a trebuchet as a defensive thing. I think that's attackers only for the sieges right now, but you understand what I'm saying. Plus the requirements, right? Because the people getting the siege scroll are expecting to attack a town, but now it's a city, so now it's got bigger, stronger walls, and maybe all of the resources that they've collected for trebuchets and for attacking and stuff, or the guilds that are involved in the attack, maybe now it's like, well, the challenge is now tenfold harder. So I'm thinking probably what's going to happen is you buy the scroll, it activates pretty much immediately, and then you have the cooldown before the siege. Now, I would expect that because once a scroll is activated, the node can no longer advance. So it probably could accrue experience, but if it accrued enough experience to advance from, say, a town to a city, it would not trigger until after the siege has been completed, and if the node is the victor, right? If it's successfully defended the attack, it's kind of what I'm thinking. Jibble says siege only happens on prime time, so your notice kind of varies. Yeah, exactly. If that's the direction you're going, so you can't have a 3M attack. Well, and that's not what I mean, but unless that is server's prime time or I'm off base. Yeah, no, and that's why there's a cooldown between when you drop a siege and when the siege actually happens, right? So I'm saying roughly 24, 48, 72. Sieges will only happen, I think the last time I heard them talk about it, between 5 and 9 o'clock, from 5 p.m. to 9 p.m., server prime time. So if the server is central, then 5 to 9 central. If it's eastern, 5 to 9 eastern. If it's western, 5 to 9 western. So you can drop the siege scroll at 3 a.m. You can drop it at 3 a.m. But there's a cooldown of so many days before it'll trigger, right? So if it's, let's say, a 24-hour cooldown and you drop it at 3 a.m., well, obviously it's going to have more than 24 hours because it's not going to be 5 to 9 the next day. It'll be 5 to 9 the day after that, right? So it's going to fit within that cooldown window. But I think the question, I think the idea of the question was, if you have that scroll, can the node still advance before the siege happens? And my thoughts would be no. So I just think the idea or the intent of the question was a little off in that regard. But we'll have to see, right? Like, this kind of stuff is still being worked out and fleshed out. But to my understanding, once a siege is triggered, the node can no longer advance while that siege is happening. So the question then becomes, if I buy a siege scroll, can I put it in my back pocket, and for how long? And if it's in my back pocket and the node advances, then what happens? Right? Stephen answered the question in the context of you are still collecting to get the siege scroll, but you have not yet obtained it. So what happens when you obtain a siege scroll? can a node advance after you have the siege scroll? Or if I have the siege scroll and the node advances, what happens to my siege scroll? Does it then expire and I get all the materials back? Or is it a credit towards the next upgraded scroll? So do I keep the town scroll in hopes that the siege may degrade at some point? So, yeah, and I think that's the same thing. I think as soon as you get a siege scroll, it does trigger. And that's kind of my understanding. But, who really knows? Let's continue.
All right. And continuing the siege trend, we have grilled cheese mojito, which I think is a really
Grilled cheese is
perfect name.
good
Also
name.
sounds
Those are
kind of
great names.
gross. Like, I'm
Me-
not sure.
I'm
grilled
kind of
cheese.
hungry.
I love grilled cheese and I like mojitos, but I don't know if I want them together.
I am a little
I
hungry.
like grilled cheese.
I mean,
and
it's already been a
tomatoes.
3-hour stream.
Ooh, yeah.
Yeah.
Wow, there's a
Like
bunch
that.
I'll
I think I might do
edit
that
out
for
at the
I think I have
beginning.
that for lunch.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna do that for lunch. Stephen and I have a meeting after the stream later today. Maybe we'll be eating our grilled cheese and tomato soup. Our question here is, what will you do, if anything, to ensure balance between sides of a siege?
There's nothing, I would expect.
Well, that's an interesting question. So, do we as the
I don't think you do anything.
developers want to ensure balance? Not necessarily.
I'd say no.
I mean, obviously, there are points of balance that we want to incorporate, such as the defense mechanisms that the defenders have, the types of buffs that are acquired.
Yeah,
for
I think
completing
there
the,
should be
killing
what
the
is there
bosses or capturing
potentially
control
for
points.
balance. But if the
stages
players
before a
do
siege
not
when it
show
comes
up,
to those node progressions, in the
like
preceding
if
weeks,
my
those are
node
all
is
going
under
to be
attack
balanced,
and I decide to
considering
take the
all
weekend
things
off,
being equal between the two sides.
You know,
but obviously,
that's
we're
on
not
me.
gonna control the state
It's
of
yeah,
gear
exactly. It's
acquisition
not.
one
It's
side
not
might
the.
have as an
It's not the
advantage over the
developer's
other,
job.
right? There might be a much better geared team over there. There might be a much better coordinated team. There might be a higher
So, no,
number of individuals
I
who are
think-
part of the attacking or the defense, right? Those are components that we
I
aren't
can see guilds and
necessarily
alliances are going to be pretty important. Absolutely,
put on railroads, so to
100%.
speak. But the aspects of
Yeah,
design
300
that we
people
can
show
talk
up
about, like the
to
health
attack
of
the
a
node, and
particular
50
wall
people
or
show up to
door,
defend the
or,
node.
mercenaries that can be hired.
I'm
What's their
sorry,
cost?
you've
What's
lost
their
because
damage
your
output?
node did
Those are
not
things,
stand
yes, we're
up for
going to balance.
itself.
But
Go find a new
obviously,
node
anything that's player
where
dependent
people are more
or that
active
has
and more
player
willing to
interaction
defend
and
your node.
activity and determination. You can't always balance, and you don't want to balance.
You know,
those
I don't think
aspects,
you
right?
force
leave those
balance,
to the
you know,
players,
because that makes the
to
whole
kind of coordinate.
concept
And then
of
obviously,
siege
kind of
mechanics
to
pointless.
follow up on that,
You know, because
when
you're
it comes to
earning.
more like competitive, like guild versus.
You know, because you have to earn the siege scroll. So while you're earning the materials to buy the siege scroll, I would expect your guild is communicating with other guilds, not of that node, saying, "Hey guys, we're earning this scroll. We're going to try and trigger it on this day to siege on this weekend or at this time. Are you in? Are you part of this?" And then don't tell the other side, right? And then you want to have your spies that are in the city or in the node that are taking note of what guilds are there, when are they most active, on what days, because maybe there's a raid day, right? So you don't want to trigger your siege on a raid day because you're going to have all of these guilds online at that time, and it ain't going to be much to run home from the raid because you're going to have some notification, right? So you want to find out, okay, well, this node has these 10 guilds, and 8 of these guilds are at minimum numbers on Thursdays. Okay, well then you trigger the siege on Monday, Tuesday. Now they can still, again, there's a cooldown, so they'll get notification that there's a siege incoming, so they can still change their times. But chances are there's a reason why on Thursdays these people aren't there. Maybe it's work related or whatever. So this is a strategy that you want to use as an attacker of a node. And if your node can't muster up the defense, I do not think the developers should be doing anything to buff the defense. If it's just a massacre, then it's a massacre. 300 people come in and raffle stomp 100. Okay, that's what happens. I don't think the devs should have anything to do with balancing. It should be 100% player driven, in my opinion. 100% player driven. It's just like you might spend weeks trying to plan an attack on a node, get all of the materials, you get your script, and then nobody shows up, right? Like you spend all this time confirming all of these guilds. Yeah, we're going to be there. We're there. And all of a sudden, nobody shows up. Funny, you as a competing guild can mess with other guilds' raid days. Well, I mean, the idea is that's when the most people of that guild are likely to be online, right? So yeah, you are interrupting their raid day, which you're interrupting them getting geared, which you're interrupting them being better able to defend against a siege. I mean, you don't want to declare a siege the day after raid day, right? Because they've done a couple of raids, they've geared. You don't want that. You want to get in before that happens, or on that day, right? Where maybe they're not paying attention. You never know, right? Like, maybe they're not paying attention. Maybe they still raid that day, even though they lose their node. Who knows? I mean, now, what happens there? What if you're in the middle of a raid and the node downgrades, right? And the node atrophies, or the node downgrades from city to village. You're in a raid, but now that raid is no longer accessible because you no longer have the node. What happens to the people inside the raid? Did you just get ejected? Do you just get spat out? Because, I mean, who knows? That's a good question there. I'm sure it's answered somewhere, right? I'm sure somebody has answered that question already, because that's a pretty obvious question. I just haven't looked it up. I've been reading more lore stuff lately, trying to write, my Dunir songs and stuff like that. So, which I might actually play one. Just to get an opinion from people, see if anybody wants to try and voice it,
things or
do a better job. Because I got lots of people in here.
Some type of ranking system for those that would be applied for
except I don't have it on this computer.
So, the server will keep a record of guilds' performance and the guilds' win loss rate for guild wars and other types of competitive.
I would think that too.
On the PVE side, when we talk about
I would kind of expect that.
And, the first to down a world boss, or those types of things will be kept as part of a record for guilds and or nodes and citizens and stuff like that. It's always fun to see, I think, as a player, your accomplishments get displayed as part of that server history, right? And to keep a record of those things, that's always cool to have available to you.
Our next question is from Acreto. I don't know. Actually, I don't know why I said it like that. But their question is about corrupted areas. If the corruption in an area is not fought back by players, how far can the corruption grow?
That's a very good question. There are certain effects that can happen in a world that does not have a proper response from the player population. And that's the whole idea behind, these events that can happen that, feel like these are natural world progression events. If corruption starts to show itself as a response, as a pushback to the player's development of nodes in the world itself, there are certain things that can happen, such as the spawning of dragons or hordes of zombies that are going to come out and attack those installations, those nodes, those points of interest, and players that don't, communities that don't respond to those in an effective way might see the disabling of certain services, the reduction of certain quest lines for particular organizations. The idea is to keep this as part of a believable living response from the world. So those can get pretty significant, the bad effects that can happen for the community.
Bacon, you're going to have fun making all those environments for as they...
We already started.
I know.
we have a few of them right now in Alpha 1. Yeah, this looks great.
As players, you have failed if you don't fight
that
back
element
corruption. Well,
looks
you're a
amazing.
failed community
Yes,
server.
if you
I'm
guys look
being
back
a little
at
harsh.
few streams ago, we showed some of the hotbed area. And
Well, it'd
that's an
be
example
interesting.
of how
Can a
corruption
server
starts
become
seeping into the
overrun
world
with
as
corruption?
a starting point, right? And
Like,
there's going to
could
be
the
abilities
corruption
for
take
that to
over the world?
progress and move forward, and
then what would
activate
happen?
spawners of certain types of enemies around a node, and get
can
players
corruption
to respond
advance?
to that.
Our next question is from Kodu, and they want to know about respawn. Will non-corrupt players always respawn at the closest respawn point, or will they have a choice of where they can respawn?
It's going to be closest. You won't have a choice on the respawn. However, with that being said, certain events may disable respawn points based on proximity to the event and might respawn players further away. And that has to do with the lore behind, death and resurrection and what it means to have your soul connected as a conduit of that, spark of life given from the goddess of
that'll be
creation,
interesting.
being that phoenix type of avatar. And if corruption has moved into an area and an event has started, that the access to those kind of ley line oriented respawn points may be obscured, might not be accessible. So that could create some additional distance that needs to be traveled as part of these types of events.
That's cool. I love living, breathing world stuff. It gets me excited. This next question
kind of goes back to the question of can the world be corrupted entirely?
The first answer, and then give Bacon time to think about his response. It's from Cornelius, and they want to know. It's kind of in regards to Alpha 1 as a whole. If you had to choose one thing to be as good as possible for Alpha 1 from your perspectives, what would it be? And Stephen, if you can kick us off.
I would say probably super performance. That's obviously Alpha 1, as we've said many times, is a very technical alpha. We've stood up a lot of the core
I agree with
systems.
that about death.
But one of the primary focuses one of the primary focuses is vetting the fundamental architecture of how the networking component of the world, of the game itself, is going to exist, so that foundation is strong and secure moving forward, and we can build upon that, right? So it bodes very well, I think, for some of the activities that we have been seeing, and we can take those then to scale further. But vetting that the basic needs of our networking are met, and that we feel confident moving forward, and building upon that is probably the most important aspect of Alpha 1. Front-facing kind of visuals aren't really the focus. Content is not really the focus. Even combat in its current form, I wouldn't say, is what you should be expecting come launch, right? So those things are going to have a lot of changes that occur over different testing periods as we move through them, as we've continued.
Yeah, and I expect combat to change and evolve a lot.
Determine what all of those core gameplay loops are going to look like.
I think combat will probably be more of a focus of
Alpha 1 to
Alpha 2.
Represent that to any player that's thinking,
I think Alpha, the current Alpha is more based on the core fundamental systems.
We've taken this transparent development process,
making sure they work,
meaning that you guys get to watch every step of the way as we develop the game. And for me, being a gamer as an outsider to the industry when I started the company, that was such an important thing, because I want other people who don't have the insight what it takes to make MMORPGs.
I like that we're getting another skill tree, though.
And, we've had obviously our fair share of flack from the beginning, and we still have that today.
That's definitely going to make it a little more interesting.
At the same time, there's a lot of very passionate developers that are part of the Intrepid team that are working day and night to make sure that this game lives up to the expectations that we as developers and that our community has as well.
And I think they're doing a good job of that. I think they're doing a pretty decent job of meeting expectations.
Kind of, what the foundation.
I mean, they're exceeding expectations visually.
That's the primary focus.
The environment is absolutely exceeding expectations, I think.
Thing that you want to be as
definitely
good as
props
possible,
to Bacon and his team.
Well, I mean, like Steven just mentioned, it's not really about as good as possible at the moment. I mean, for me, it's like it was putting enough components in place where we have a clear direction as far as where we're moving forward in terms of our technology, like the node system specifically. I'm very happy, not with its finished state, but the components are starting to come together in a way that we hadn't had them before. where we're starting to answer the questions and starting to implement some of the systems around like the roads, because the roads are going to like switch out with the node system, the content around it, and the nodes themselves, and how it's going to work with the terrain. How we're going to have a dynamic system. And we did a lot of R&D work.
Your road should upgrade a little bit.
I mean, we've had iterations of it, from the beginning, but I felt like last summer we really hit on, this is where it really is going now. Like we know for sure, like we were saying, okay, this is starting to really work. And those core systems, even though they're not fully realized, but the framework is starting to get put in place that we're really starting to see.
And that's exactly what an alpha should be.
And I think that's really exciting.
It's exactly what he's talking about.
Mentioning with the races, seeing those actually start to really kind of, you could feel them start getting gravity to them, where they're, okay, that really is what the race is going to be. This is what this race is going to be.
We've yet to see anything Tallnar other than silhouettes.
Counterpoint would be the other races, and as they come
I have
together,
not seen anything orc related other than just really concept art.
And so these ones,
I've never seen an orcish model
this is
yet.
What we need to do to get them there,
So if humans and elves really basically look identical,
all fall together. So that's probably the,
other than their ears. I think there's a slight height difference,
but that was what the objective was.
They look basically identical. And
I feel
dwarves.
really good, kind of like where we're at now, as far as we know where we're going. So. And I think, and a lot of those
dwarves
systems,
look distinctive
in general, it's starting to look really nice. So I think that there's still a lot of work, a lot of performance stuff.
And the dwarves are general, right? Like so far they haven't bifurcated the cultures from the races yet. So if you pick human,
it just requires
you're human.
much
In general, if you're elf in general, dwarf in general, there's no subdividing between Dunir, Nakua,
and to
or
piggyback a little bit on
whatever the other two races cultures
how
are.
Nodes progress, right? I think nodes as a system obviously is the backbone of the game, and very early on, one of the first things we tackled with regards to nodes was the code behind how nodes collect experience from players, how they propagate, and it was a very manual process, so to speak, right? Like, design an environment had to lay down each individual prop and building, and essentially then hide all of those things and activate them based on how the code then contributed.
No, there's almost nothing for orcs
from our managing our server.
Mind you, like they do want orcs to be different than WoW orcs,
and
so I think the orcs are going to look more human.
Was scalable, especially considering
I think they're just going to be
103
like Lufringo Hulk orcs, not Hulk orcs, like WoW orcs, if that makes any sense.
Bacon and Roy, they
like Lufringo is the Hulk. Still looked like a man. He was just kind of stacked.
Even though it's curated by the design team.
Arnold Schwarzenegger kind of physique. That's how I think the orcs are going to be more like, not like the Incredible Hulk looking orcs from
unique
World of Warcraft.
Properties and the layout of a particular node across the world, right? That was
I'm dating myself.
In the sky. Okay, we need to get that system.
Everybody's like, who the hell's Lou Fringo?
And as Bacon was saying, like last summer, we had the basics of that system start to come online so that we could now create a more procedural method, even though it's curated from parameters that are set by design and how they want prop placements to occur in particular chunks of these platforms. All of that stuff was starting to come online and in a way that was manageable both from the environment and design side, to let these nodes now live.
You want them to look such a way that half orcs are possible.
Result system of when we actually have the entire world built. So that's, I think,
or
really cool
an elf or a human could get it up.
Like, nodes were
have yourself a nice half orc.
For how we want these to look and feel, and they need to hit the kind of expectation that we have.
Did I miss something there?
Not just having these same node living everywhere in the world.
Yeah, and if you want to go check out our Dev Diary series, we actually did kind of a node.
Well, there's a She-Hulk.
Kind of detail video on that. You're going to kind of see how the system works on a little bit on the back end, and kind of from a grayscale element of like the different races and how you walk through that. Definitely go check it out because it's kind of a neat behind the scenes development, kind of walkthrough of some of the stuff earlier on, and then being able to now see it in game, that I'm sure some of you have experienced even as we've leveled up nodes, has been really exciting for us. That was a very long answer to that question, so I'm going to try to rush
Sorry.
through a few
I just-
more.
I mean, the MCU is
I'll
trying to
also discuss
convince
one
us
really
of a
quick, which is
Black
from
Widow
Laura
Hulk
Jackson
deal.
in regards to our career fair. Can we share any updates or plans on that? And obviously, we will share details on that.
You would tear
we'll
her
make
up.
it very clear of where, when, and how you can partake in that if you're interested, or if you want to come down to the San Diego area and partake in that. But right now, I don't have like the full details. But once we
Providing
do, we
everything's
will.
proportional.
We kind of want to get our office situated and be ready to kind of have guests come before we fully go into that.
Well, there's
next
no
question is
relationship
from
between the Hulk and
Validia, who
She-Hulk.
wants to
They
know
just
about
call her
alliances.
She-Hulk
How
because
many
she's
guild
similar.
alliances can your guild be part of?
Someone could be more orcish and other more
I'm so
human
sorry.
than
I know we're
orcish.
running over,
or
so I had to answer a
even
critical
size
question in Slack.
difference.
I'm sorry. What was that last
No, that's
question?
fine. This is in regard to alliances.
Oh, for like
How
half
many
orcs?
guild
Yeah.
alliances can your
Well,
guild
half orc
be
is like a
part
D&D
of?
thing.
That's a good question.
I don't think they're
right
going to get
now,
that far in this
previously
game.
we may have had a
Imagine, I
different
mean, future
answer for that,
DLC
but,
could
right now we're
could do
thinking of
half
having
orcs,
3 guilds
half
that can
elves.
join an alliance in addition to your guild, so a total of 4. But that is obviously subject to change as we actually implement the alliance system, right? And that is, going back to a previous question, how are you going to ensure balance? That's also a component of balance, right? We don't want to create a scenario where, we're encouraging an imbalance in power on a particular server, and part of that dynamic is incorporating guild limitations and alliance limitations. Now obviously you can get past that. I've been a guild leader in the past for many years, and I've had very large guilds, and you kind of have to like create these sub guilds, or so to speak. We don't want to call them like the secondary guild, because then nobody wants to join the secondary guild, and they all want to get the benefits and the passive abilities that the primary guild is capable of creating. So I mean, what that does is it facilitates an interaction that allows for potential splintering, for drama to occur, for people to get upset or whatever in the guild.
Epic reality. Yeah, thank you very much for the follow. And that's where the alliances comes in with the sub guilds.
Nightmare. I mean,
where
I hated
your alliance can fall apart,
with,
right? Somebody's not doing.
that I had to construct.
Your
So
guild leader's
we wanna
terrible.
we want to keep the guild limit membership number, maintainable, and that also plays into alliances, because alliances confer benefits on associated guilds that are part of that alliance. So right now it's 4, but that's entirely subject to change.
Okay, so you have four guilds in
Of
alliance.
course, the chat has been sharing their opinions, and we'd love for you to share yours over on the forums too.
So if you have 300
Neil wants to know
times
about flying
4,
mobs, how will flying mobs be
technically
handled, considering the
1,200
limits on
1,200
who has
members
access
in an
to
alliance.
flight versus gliding?
So flying monsters,
If you
are not really going to be.
Okay, so let's break this down, right? Because your guild maximum is going to be 300 if you spend all of your guild points in increasing your guild numbers. However, you can spend guild points either in increasing your guild population number to 300 or on other perks or buffs or whatever that you can use those points for. So you could technically have an alliance of 4 guilds, but all 4 guilds stay at the minimum size, which I think is 30 or 40. Which would only give you a guild of 120 people to 180 people, versus, you could have a guild of 1,200 or an alliance of 1,200 people. So there's a lot of variance in not only guild creation and construction, but also in your alliance creation and construction. And I mean, one thing that I learned a lot from EVE Online, when I was playing that game back in the day. You look at what was happening with, what was it, Bob and Goon Squad. They were invading and sneaking and whatever on each other. And well, thank you, Jibble, with another gifted sub. Yeah, thank you very much. So you have that intrigue, right? You have that ability where you could have somebody get into a guild, make it into a leadership position, and then that guild, being part of an alliance, can then start breaking that alliance apart and fracturing. I mean, those are really fun things. I mean, you had that with EVE Online, where you had, I believe it was a guy in Bob, somehow got away with like a third of the fleet at one point, and and Goon Swarm had their own internal drama, and they lost a huge section of space. I mean, it's having that ability, I think, is awesome. I mean, that can be a lot of fun. That allows you to play the game on different levels that aren't part of the game's structure, as far as just advancing from level 1 to level 50. It allows a lot of that intrigue, and that really makes endgame more fun than just, hey, we're just going to raid forever, or we're just going to do fishing forever because there's nothing else to do at endgame. Your endgame then becomes this intrigue. It becomes this management of guilds. It becomes this attacking your opponents and undermining their positions. And this is where the node system comes into play, and the castle sieges and the vassals. And I mean, that to me is really interesting. Big picture, big scale. It really makes the game far more massive than what I think we're just going to see kind of on the surface.
Be a thing from a content perspective.
Fishing
Yes,
is the true end game.
Monsters, but essentially,
fishing
what
is
that
always
means
the true
is,
end
like,
game.
There's going to be rotations either in the
Trying to fish out them damn coins and WoW and stuff like that.
They might do some like swooping attacks. They might come and land on the ground and fight you. But generally, monsters are going to be accessible from on the ground. So we're not creating content for the limited number of individuals who are going to have access to a flying mount, right?
I know, I need to do
Our
more
flying
fishing in
mounts are
Valheim.
going to be accessible from kings and queens
Not
of
the
castles
coins.
and like mayors of metropolises, of which, you know, servers generally going to see at any given time less than 20
But you know the
people who
struggle.
have access to fully flying mounts. So in that regard, we're not going to have content that's created for those 20 people to engage in flying aerial combat, so to speak. But we will have, like, you know, mounts that are up and hovering and like flying off the ground, and as I said, they'll come and swoop or like land and stuff like that. Like right now we have, you know, one of the dragons does a lot of flying mechanics where he flies up and he's like inaccessible to melee combat. He does like a dragon breath, but then he comes down and he lands and does like a little shockwave and stuff like that. So there's
it does like 3,000 damage and wipes the party.
Entirely aerial combat thing.
Okay, speaking of flying, I got a little flying toast coming in.
It's a little sucker thingy.
Clarification. The question was how many alliances you could be in, not how many guilds in an alliance.
Only one. You can only be in one alliance actively.
There you go. Scairns wants to know about weapon progression. If I dual wield, will I get XP/skills from both weapons?
So dual wielding will have its own weapon progression actives, right? And sometimes that'll share based on the types of weapons that you're dual wielding, right?
Again, I feel bad for Bacon. Like, he's literally
I have quite a few
talked
more.
for less than 5 minutes in this entire stream.
How many do we have left?
And I really
Like
feel
17.
Holy shit.
I feel
Let's do
bad
7
for him.
more.
Okay, 7 more.
It's not a lot of questions for him to
Kaiju wants to know
answer.
about stats. Will there be more niche stats in
Exactly,
addition
yeah.
to basic
It
ones?
looks like his
For
cat
instance,
has his
increased
headrest on the
healing
back of his
received from
chair.
allies, increased armor penetration, etc.
Oh
Sounds
yeah,
like a
I think
passive system.
there's going to be a very wide. Well, yeah.
Maybe when I get my
Not
new
just
chair.
necessarily passive
No, I don't have
system.
the right chair
Passive
for
system
that.
is going to play off of those particular derivatives.
I don't know. I don't know if I should
particular
get like a
stats,
gamer
right?
chair like
But
this.
there's
I
a
have the
wide
DX
range of
Racer.
available
Or if
stats
I should
that
go to
get-
Lazy Boy and get like a
that get,
recliner or something.
waterfalled off of your primary attributes, and there's 6 primary attributes, and each of them stems out.
A nice
into these
comfy chair.
waterfall
Because I do
type
like to
derivative
lean
stats.
back.
But there's a wide arcing.
Need a cat headrest.
Number of influences that come out of those attributes.
Yeah, there's nowhere for the cats to sit on here, though.
Okay.
Otherwise, I think one of them probably would. I know
Our next
there.
question is from
There's one
Cassiria,
cat
who
downstairs
wants to
when I
know
sit in the
about
chair. She
housing
always
decor.
sits,
Can we use
puts her
weapons
paws
or
on my shoulder.
shields with cosmetic skins on them as decoration in our freeholds?
There's for sure going to be certain home decor items that are weapon in nature, right? Whether those be like, I think we have some of them already in the
Yeah, we
game.
have cross swords with shield, that kind of stuff.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then whether or not those actual decor items are going to be specifically related to in-game weapons that you can equip, I'm sure that we will have certain decor items that will be representative of unique weapons that you
Don't
can
think I have a
then,
picture of it anymore.
that you will have available to equip and achieve in-game.
I think it's on my Instagram now.
Magic Man wants to know about UI. Will there be any options to adjust target visibility, such as swapping the circle around a target's feet for something different?
Maybe not.
Reticles?
Oh yeah.
Well, these
Yeah,
are
there you
these
go.
Targeting templates, right? I think he's talking about.
Don't know how well
Yeah,
that shows
I think
up,
that
but
that's not outside of the realm of what we're
yeah,
trying to
she
achieve.
sits back
with
there and she always has a
customizing
paw on my
UI.
shoulder.
I think there's going to be options for the reticle. There's likely going to be options for the
Especially if I'm
targeting
eating.
templates
some
and
mooch.
decals
Always wants
that
my
players
food.
can swap between. Yeah.
Okay. And then Unknown One wants to kind of talk a little bit more about corrupted areas. Will there be any areas in the world that are so corrupted that if a player stays there, they will slowly gain corruption themselves?
No, there will not be any areas that confer corruption onto a player.
Aw.
Every hole wants to know about systems.
Oh no.
I know, she didn't put the full name there. Are there any mechanics, such systems you wish you could have implemented from another game, but couldn't due to technical workload or other reasons?
Yeah. I would love it if we could have essentially spaceships that you fly out into different planets and I'm just kidding.
That's what you have the portals for.
That would be cool. Not gonna lie, I love space a lot.
Yes.
That'll be like
mechanics-
expansion bajillion when she takes you to a new planet.
I'm just totally joking. No, I
Bacon's
know.
like,
Well, you already have the portal that takes you from Sanctus to Vera. I mean, that is
I don't
from
know of any,
a different
is there
planet.
system in particular that I'm like, ooh, I'd love that, and then decided not to. Not off the top of my head. I'm sure there's stuff that I've enjoyed.
have you
that
seen the
didn't
amount of
fit into the
systems? I
scope.
feel like Steven just said yes.
Yeah, I
yes,
know.
yes.
That is not true. I've said no to many things.
I know, just
And I've maintained consistency in our systems and designs so that they are, we're not doing scope
I'm
creep,
just
but
trolling you, buddy.
Yeah, like Star
The
Citizen.
Duke wants to know about gear. Will there be stat requirements to equip gear? So you have to have like a certain amount of strength to be able to put on some armor or anything like that.
Yeah, that's a cool question that came up a long time ago on the design side, whether or not we wanted to incorporate certain types of restrictions for items like that. We decided no, that, obviously we have level requirements that are going to be applicable for particular types of gears. There's going to be affiliation requirements that is for certain types of gear as well. But from a stat perspective, we decided not to go down that route.
Okay.
And the only reason for that is we don't want to shoehorn people into particular types of builds, right? And
Cookie
stats
cutters.
relate to those
Nobody wants a
particular
good.
types
Nobody
of
wants a
builds,
cookie
because there's
cutter.
a lot of versatility that exists within our class system.
That's
they don't
why I
have to
think
play it
damage
per se,
meters
and that kind of lends
are
itself to a
off
meta.
the
It's like,
tables
you're a
because
tanker,
damage
you
meters
have
are just
to
going
take
to.
Constitution, and if you don't take Constitution, you don't get access to this really cool tank breastplate, stuff like that. Like, it just it can feel a little too restrictive when you start to dictate from a stat perspective how a character must build their, how a player must build their character.
Yeah, exactly.
And Vera Lord is our final question today. Asking
Yeah, I don't
about
like-
titles.
I don't
Are there
like
plans to have any
enforced,
unique titles that only one person can
cookie cutter
obtain?
builds because I play
Obviously,
play
you have, like,
differently
mayorship and
often.
all kinds of other
Yes.
stuff.
Yeah, we've had that question before. There's certain organizations, there's religions, there's mayor, there's kings and queens, there's guild leaders, there's guild officers. Like, all of those can incorporate particular types of titles that grant you access to certain things. And that's part of our risk versus reward.
Yeah, I'm not
That's
too
part of
worried
not
about being a
everybody gets
mayor or
trophy.
anything like that.
These are achievements that we want you to
I'll have a
strive
guild.
for.
I'm not even sure I
There's
want to be the
plenty
guild
of those
leader.
types of achievements within the game because there's lots of nodes and there's lots of different pseudo factions that exist.
I'm an
that you get to
explorer.
kind of identify and say, "Ooh, I'd like to do that."
I like to
particular
experience the
thing very well,
content,
better
so
than
I'm going to be
others.
like the guy that's
And you
like
can
the
strive to
lowest,
do so.
probably
So,
like
yes, they're
one of the
absolutely
lower level
One
fine.
more,
guys.
because obviously that one we've kind of answered, and I knew the answers right away, but I did want to ask it. Roni Skiponi wants to know about monster coins. Will monster coins allow you to take part in events on servers other than your own server?
No, the monster
Cross-server
coins
monster coins.
allow you to participate in events only on your server.
Yeah, that's another
Yeah,
PvP
we haven't
type
really
of
gotten
event
into
as well,
cross-
right? Because you can fight the
Cross-server
monster,
stuff.
or
There might be like crossover.
I don't know. I don't know if
types
I'd be a
arenas
good
that we
guild leader.
institute. Maybe I don't put any promises. This is kind of like a stretch goal, or at least maybe could.
I mean,
could
I'll
come
definitely
afterwards,
be Kazumar.
where
Will definitely
we
be
have
a more casual,
ladder-oriented
friendly guild.
activities that exist within particular
I
servers,
mean,
and those, one of those obviously
anybody can
systems
come
is
and
the
join,
arena system.
but it's
But
definitely
I've
going to be
always
more
thought it would be really
casual.
cool if there's a way that, like, at the
Based least,
a particular period,
you know,
and you have,
I
like,
don't
some top
really
number
have a
of people
goal
for
in
your
mind for the
server
guild.
who were at the head of that ladder. If they
Other
can
than just having
participate
fun.
in,
You
like,
know, I just want to
a
play with good, fun
cross-realm
people.
competition or Olympiad of sorts, and then if your server wins, like, they get a server-wide buff for
I
some
gotta
period
figure
of
out how much of
time,
this do I want to edit.
or, like, the
I should
dominance.
just put
think
this
that would
all
be
up
really
on
cool, but we
YouTube.
don't have that in the plans for launch.
So maybe we'll see it, maybe we won't.
No, absolutely.
But of
That's
course,
true
everything
there.
is subject to change as we move forward. We're always going to be taking y'all's feedback into effect. And of course, as we do more testing, we might
Well,
decide
my guild will
something
be
needs to be adjusted.
it's
and
called
we usually try to do our
Kazamar,
best to share
which
those updates with you all,
means clan
or if something changes,
or family in
we try
Dwarvish.
to let you guys know. Reminder that we do have our new dev discussion and guild gathering coming
that's
up in
true,
July,
too.
so please partake in those. They very much help
Doing the
our
wrap up
teams.
here.
And of course, we have our July cosmetic swap over and pre-order packages coming on July 7th, as well as there's an Alpha 1 spot test happening today from 2:30 p.m. to 8:30 p.m. Pacific, obviously subject to change.
Yeah, that got canceled.
With an upcoming test on July 1st.
Yeah, that
from
got
11
canceled,
a.m. to 5 p.m.
unfortunately.
Pacific.
That's why I'm
Also,
doing this now.
We keep you guys updated.
Otherwise, I'd be in
sure
the
to
alpha
check out
test.
Our Alpha 1 preview forums as well as Discord to keep up to date on the latest information. I'm just telling you
There's
there's
going to be an alpha
Friday,
spot test
what
today.
information I have. So if you're watching this at a later date.
The test today might be pushed to tomorrow, by the way.
Okay.
Those of you testers watching, we may push that to tomorrow. There's a couple of issues we're trying to address right now.
All right. And of course, we'll be putting this video up on our YouTube channel, youtube.com/Ashes of Creation. So definitely go check it out over there. We have all of our videos. We try to keep everything nice for you. We also put them up on all of our social channels as well as on our news.
So
we
pretty
try
much
to keep you up to date
got
with
everything wrapped up
so
here.
whatever social platform you prefer, we try to be on it. Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. We even post on like the Reddit that's run by our community. We try to just keep you up to date in all of the places. So there's never a place that doesn't have information about the latest news. So just keep in track over there. And of course, we'll be sending emails out through our newsletter. So you can sign up for that over on our website. And I think that's all I've got. Do you have any final words that you'd like to say? Thank you again to Bacon for being our guest.
Thank you.
Thank you, Bacon.
Bringing us cats.
Cats, lots of cats.
No, just want to thank everybody for tuning in. Obviously, as you guys know, we love our community. We love our testers. We love sharing with you guys the progress for Ashes of Creation. We're very grateful for you guys tuning in and giving all of your commentary and feedback. And that's what makes this process so enjoyable for all of us that are developing the game, is watching your guys' response to the development, to the progress that we're making. And we love all of you guys out there for tuning in. Thank you very much.
We really appreciate it. Of course.
The very best.
We'll see you all next month for another development update. That one might be more of like a play session, right?
Oh, maybe.
We'll just
Yeah.
play with you guys for an hour so you can see the
Too
alpha.
early. Yes, absolutely.
All right.
That's all
We'll
there.
see you guys
Everybody's
next
doing
month.
the
And
wave.
we hope that you have a wonderful weekend, and we'll see you on the flip side.
Bye, everybody.
So, what do you guys think? Some good information here. Good video. Some new areas that will be in the game itself. Q&A definitely was nice and long, which I do appreciate. They do spend a lot of time doing trying to answer questions to the community and stuff like that. So before we go, I was going to play. This is a song I've been working on for the radio. So talking about Phoenix Radio content creation. Now the music is Danheim. I think the song's Atger. There's another guy that is part of the Phoenix Radio community that he does music and stuff like that. So I'm hoping he'll come up with something else because I don't have permission to use this song. But I wrote the lyrics and I was trying to find a song that sounded close to what I was looking for musically. And this song was just almost perfect. Almost. It's a little fast. I actually want to slow it down a little bit more. Ideally, what I'd like to find is somebody with a bassier voice, kind of more of a booming kind of voice, and can roll their R's because I do want it done in more of a Scottish accent, not quite full-on Scot, more of a Mrs. Doubtfire perhaps. Somebody who can roll their R's much better than I can and roll them faster than I can, because there's some lines in here that I can't do very well. trying to roll my R's. But anyways, it's just kind of a preview of kind of what I try to do. And so this is a sample, not a finished product. But let me know what you think.
Dunheim, great gates of iron and stone. Deep within the mountain, it is the Dunir's home. In halls of deep souls of Dunir sleep with riches and treasures untold. Beware, weary traveller, do not enter the hole. Brave were they who chose to stay, in homes and heart it is the way. Stout and stubborn dwarves may be, doomed were those who stayed. From gate to keep, the souls to sleep until the gates reopen. Fame and fortune lie within, left among the corruption. Dunheim, great gates of iron and stone. Deep within the mountain, it is the Dunir's home. The lights portend of a dark end, their days and months were a number. Priests did gather, councils convened, the good King Branir did slumber. The sickness took him, he never awoke, the king he never recovered. Crowned was she the eldest, Dorman hopes were reborn. Across the land of Dunzencal, the people were forewarned. Corruption came to claim their lands, Vilga last queen to stand. Earth did shake, it was their end, the halls of Dunheim were damned. Dunheim, great gates of iron and stone. Deep within the mountain, it is the Dunir's home. The path is long, the road most travelled, eons past, it's all but gravel, bones to dust, the gates are rust, mysteries left to unravel. Dunheim, a city of dwarves with secrets keep within. The doors are shut, do not enter, no one should go in. Dunheim, great gates of iron and stone. Deep within the mountain, it is the Dunir's home.
So that's that's playing the song at its full speed. And then so what I was talking about is I wanted to make it a little slower. So I think this is the slow. So basically all I did is literally did a recording and then time scaled it back. And there's a couple of word changes in this. Like in the first one, it was the halls of Dunir were damned. I changed it to fell because it didn't quite work within the cadence. And I also changed the chorus from Dunheim, gates of iron and stone, deep within the mountain, it is the Dunir's home. I changed it from is Dunir's home to was Dunir's home, except for the last time I say it is the Dunir's home, because this is meant to be kind of a sad song, I guess. It's not meant to be happy. It's telling the history of the fall of Dunheim, and Dunheim is the one raid that we have in the game, right? So it is the Dunir raid that's inside the mountains, big halls and everything. It's one of the first ones Bacon showed us, and so this is based on the lore that's available. So there's a lot of stuff kind of built in here. So this is a slowed down version, and this is more how I want it to sound. Again, I'd like somebody with, a really good timbre in their voice, and because it sounds obviously slowed down. Now the music again is going to change, because hopefully the other guy is going to come up with. I want more deep bass, like booms, because it's meant to be in a mountainous, so I want that big echo sense of weight. But I like the hurdy-gurdy it has in this song too, which is kind of cool. So hopefully he'll be able to come up with something that's kind of like this, but different. Anyways, I'm going to let this play, and I'm going to take a bio break. And so this is closer to, I guess, what I hope the finished product will be.
Dunheim, great gates of iron and stone, deep within the mountain, it was the Dunir's home. In halls of deep, souls do sleep with riches and treasures untold. Beware, weary traveler, do not enter the hole. Brave were they who chose to stay, in home and heart it is the way. Stout and stubborn dwarves may be, doomed were those who stayed. From gate to keep the souls do sleep until the gates reopen. Fame and fortune lie within, left among the corruption. Dunheim, Dunheim, great gates of iron and stone, deep within the mountain, it was the Dunir's home. The lights portend of a dark end, their days and months were numbered. Priests did gather, councils convened, the great king Brunir did slumber. The sickness took him, he never awoke, the king he never recovered. Crowned was she the eldest, dwarven hopes were reborn. Across the land of Duns and Kell, the people were forewarned. Corruption came to claim their lands, Vilga the last queen to stand, the earth to shake, it was their end, the halls of Dunheim fell. Dunheim, Dunheim, great gates of iron and stone, deep within the mountain, it was the Dunir's home. The path is long, a road was traveled, eons past, it's all but gravel, bones to dust, the gates are rust, mysteries left to unravel. Dunheim, a city of dwarves with secrets keep within. The doors are shut, do not enter, no one should go in. Dunheim, Dunheim, great gates of iron and stone, deep within the mountain, it is the Dunir's home.
So that kind of gives you more of an idea of how I would like it to sound. The whole idea is it's telling the history of Vera, of the dwarves. What I envision in my mind, of course, is a bard who's traveling throughout the countryside, has a number of stories. Right, they have their storybook, their playbook, and it's kind of going back to how history has kind of always been passed down right through a story. So I want it to sound somewhat conversational, or like you're telling a story. I want that inflection. I try to add more of that in this version. It's a warning. Mostly it's a warning, right? It's telling, there's riches inside of this place because, the doors are shut. Corruption took over. Nobody's been in there for thousands and thousands of years. So who knows what's in there? But we know there's corruption. It's likely in there. The souls do sleep. What happens when the souls awaken? And we know by looking at the video that they've showed of this dungeon, you have this arm, like the abyssal armors and stuff like that you saw in the video. That kind of stuff is in there, right? So you have the souls of the Dunir that were corrupted, are their magics are still there. It's kind of the idea that I'm getting at. And by saying it was the Dunir's home, it's like it's no longer their home. But then by saying at the very end, it is the Dunir's home. Even though the warning is, don't go in there, the doors are shut, stay away, you're going to go in and you're going to take it back, right? And that's kind of the story there. It is the Dunir's home, as in it is our home, and we will take it back. That's kind of how I want it kind of done, right? So hopefully that gives you an idea of the kind of content that I'm hoping to create for Phoenix Radio, and hopefully at some point might allow me to get into the content creators program, even though I'm getting assistance from other content creators. And that's really, I think, how it should be done at the end of the day. I mean, we should all be working together, collaborating, helping each other out in whatever ways we can. So, I don't know. What do you guys think? What are your thoughts and opinions on that? Again, if you're watching this on YouTube or anywhere else, please leave your comments, like, subscribe, whatever you want to do. And then, again, the music is Danheim, and the song is Atger. I do not have permission to basically do what I did. So it's just a placeholder. It was a happy accident. Like I said, I wrote the words for the most part first. And then I was trying to think, do I have a song that kind of meets that chant that I'm going for. And that one was the closest that I could find, that I could think of. And I did send the Danheim an email asking for permission. Sent him actually the demo, saying like, this is kind of what I would be doing, because a lot of their music is like that. It's non-lyrical, and I think for I think for the Dunir, it's an awesome sound, right? Because it's kind of Viking-esque. I definitely see the Dunir as kind of being like that. So anyways, that I think is going to wrap up the stream, and I have to edit this down a little bit. I don't think I'll edit too much. And thank you guys so much for being here. Thank you, Jibble. A couple of subs given away, and thank you to Upfront Poop Dog, $20 donation. I really do appreciate that. Thank you. It does go a long way. And we will see you guys on stream over on my Twitch channel, twitch.tv/BeckelTar, if you're watching this anywhere else. So have yourselves a good one, and we'll see you guys a little later. Ciao for now.